Right, there we go. Hello, everyone. Today we'll be continuing reading "The Young Lords of Radical History" by Johanna Fernandez. Last time we started reading the decay of the Young Lord Party in New York, where was Fontanez was demonizing and belittling those who disagreed with the direction that the YLP was taking, and it was becoming revisionist and decaying from within. And we'll be continuing reading the aftermath of that. But as always, we'll begin reading the Statement of Unity. So let me just go here. Ba-ba-da-ba. All right. Here we go. Can y'all see this?
No, I don't see nothing.
You don't see anything?
No.
No, I don't
Oh,
see
oh,
anything.
the screen share is loading, so it will
see it.
pop
Yeah, I
up.
see it now.
I see
There
it
we
loud
go.
and clear.
Right on. Ooh, there we go. Okay. There we go. So let me just. There we go. Okay. So as always, we'll start with the Statement of Unity preface. Preface. The U.S. was founded as a colonial settler state based upon white supremacy and slavery, stealing the lands of the indigenous nations and breaking every treaty made with them, and confining them to quote unquote reservations, concentration camps. As the country became more powerful, the ego sunk its claws to other nations, making war on Mexico and grabbing its northern territory, invading Cuba, Puerto Rico, Hawaii, and the Philippines, and either annexing them outright or making them colonies or neo-colonies. And in the 20th century, it became the major imperialist power in the world, exploiting both the people within its boundaries and those in every other country, bullying them with military interventions, and robbing them of their rights of self-determination. As Huey P. Newton stated, quote, "We have two enemies to fight, racism and capitalism. Between the two, capitalism is primary. Racism is a byproduct of capitalism. The working people of the world of every ethnicity or nationality face a common enemy that is destroying life on Earth. Our enemy is a small ruling class of property owners controlling most of the world's wealth and resources. We must have our basic needs met to live a good and meaningful life: food, shelter, healthcare, education, freedom from the oppression by the state, and peace with other nations. To obtain these essential things for life, we must have the power to see to it that the abundance that is available is shared equitably. Just okay. Statement of Unity for the Second Rainbow Coalition. The legacy of the First Rainbow Coalition dates back to its founding on April 4th, 1969, by the original Black Panther Party, original Young Lords, and Young Patriots organization. A number of other organizations joined this coalition not too long afterwards, such as the American Indian Movement, Brown Berets, Rising Up Angry, the Red Guards, and others. Since the founding of the United States, the masses have developed a number of popular movements that came together to fight back against this capitalist imperialist system in various ways around particular demands. Nevertheless, none had established a movement quite like the First Rainbow Coalition. This historic example was the first of its kind that established a model of class struggle like no other. Its charismatic leader, Chairman Fred Hampton of the Illinois chapter of the original Black Panther Party, said that at the end of the day, we weren't engaged in a quote unquote race struggle. He said that it's a class struggle, god damn it. By uniting with the various oppressed ethnicities and masses, they were able to bridge the gap between the various ethnic communities that white supremacy had long sought to keep divided. This class solidarity equipped them with the material basis and class consciousness to see their common class condition. Therefore, the necessity to form a united front against their common class oppressor, the capitalist imperialist ruling class. The ruling class viewed this as the greatest threat to their class rule, and subsequently used the entire oppressive forces of the state, police, courts, jails, prisons, intelligence agencies, etc., in order to crush this emerging revolutionary socialist movement. We refounded the Rainbow Coalition on May 14th, 2021, with the intent of upholding the legacy of the original Rainbow Coalition. We believe that this historic example is a model for the United Front that will best serve our class liberation. By upholding the 10-point program of the original Black Panther Party, which was subsequently adopted and later expanded by the original Young Lords, Young Patriots organization, and all other Rainbow Coalition members, we establish our pragmatic unity. The 6 disciplinary rules that we uphold ties all organizations in our coalition to a common professional discipline. History has bestowed upon our generation a great mission to fulfill. The representatives of the capitalist imperialist ruling class, represented by the Democratic Party and the Republican Party, cannot liberate us. It is their class intention and class interest to uphold our common class oppression. Therefore, it is only we, the oppressed masses of all ethnicities and nationalities, who must build necessary class solidarity, class consciousness, organizational structures, and a united front that will ultimately liberate ourselves. This is what the Second Rainbow Coalition is committed to. This is the historic mission we intend to fulfill. Dare to struggle, dare to win. All members of the coalition, New African Black Panther Party, White Panther Party, Party of New Jersey, Green Party of New Jersey, Poor People's Army, La Mesa Nacional de Brown Berets, NASL, North Alabama School for Organizers, New Era Young Lords, and American Indian Movement Northeast Woodland Chapter. The 6 disciplinary rules. Number 1, members will conduct themselves in a manner to bring credit to the coalition and will treat others with respect and politeness. Number 2, members will be sober when on Rainbow Coalition business and will not engage in any criminal activity while a member. Number 3, no member will engage in violence except in the extremity of self-defense. Number 4, members will not gossip nor be divisive to the unity of the Second Rainbow Coalition. Number 5, members will not act as informers nor work against the purpose of the Second Rainbow Coalition. And number 6, nobody is authorized to speak for the Second Rainbow Coalition unless authorized to do so. And that, y'all, is a statement of unity. And with that, we'll begin reading the Young Lords right now. There we go. So, does anyone want to read first?
I'll start it.
You start? Okay.
And I can pick up after, comrades.
Right on. Okay, so let me just move this shit out of the way.
Where we at? Trapped in the Ivory Tower?
Yeah, trapped in the Ivory Tower. That's where we're at.
Trapped in the Ivory Tower. The PRRWO lob along with smaller numbers and a greater emphasis on study circles. The Young Lords Party Congress was, however, an important precursor to a meeting called by the Guardian newspaper less than a year later. On March 23, 1973, titled, What Road to Building a New Communist Party? I read it. I read that when I was in prison. Its goals were greater clarity on the building of a new party and a higher level of unity among the new Marxist-Leninist forces. The most important groups present included representatives of the Black Workers' Congress, IWOQUIN, and RU, the ideological counterparts to some degrees of the PRRWO, which gave solidarity greetings. At that conference, the PRRWO announced preparations for the formation of the National Liaison Committee, NLC, conceived as the organizational embryo of a future revolutionary party, made up of representatives of these organizations. According to Gonzalez, the formation of the NLC meant that we agreed that we were all Maoists and that our long-term goal was to unite into one organization to create a new communist party. It was going to take time to get there because we were different organization with different leadership, but that was long-term goal. But that was the long-term goal. As PRRWO, we understood that Puerto Ricans in the United States were a national minority, but that the main focus of the group should be to organize industrial workers. So we not only went to work in factories, we went to work in factories in major industries with the goal of building a revolutionary flank within the labor movement. The new PRRWO continued to work in the New York public hospitals and to address the onslaught of municipal budgetary cuts in social planning. Like some, like some other Marxist organizations, the PRRWO also sent members to Eagle Electric in Queens, which employed 25,000 workers at two factories in Brooklyn, Livingston, and Chrome, specializing in light switches and chrome plating production. Respectfully, others went was sent to Detroit and Chicago. By the time by the time the Guardian sponsored forum in 1973, Juan Gonzalez's relationship with government was over. Wow. Now accused of petty bourgeois tendency by the Central Committee under Fontana's leadership, Gonzalez was demoted and transferred to Philadelphia. Shortly thereafter, Fontana's married Don White of the RU. Wow, what a woman. Civilians files notes a feature of Fontana's character, consistent with her conduct in the Young Laws and later PRRWO. The source reported, among other things, that Fontana's marriage to White was a power play to increase her influence with the movement and with RU. Thank you. The development occurred alongside the event of a deep economic recession and a growing effort by conservatives in mainstream politics to roll back the gains of the 60s. The times, to say the least, were politically confusing. Many movement activists sought to embrace a Marxist analysis of the world and clandestine activities, especially among proponents of Puerto Rican independence, was growing, particularly within the armed revolutionary independence movement and armed forces of national liberation. In addition, the attention garnered by the Young Law's own dramatic activism in the late 1960s encouraged other groups to enlarge their ranks both on the mainland and in Puerto Rico. In reversal of the YLP trajectory, the MPI strengthened its efforts off the island and renamed itself the Puerto Rican Socialist Party at a conference in New York in 1973 that drew 3,000 people. For its part, El Comité, the other mainland Puerto Rican radical groups that emerged in New York after the Young Laws wait a minute. Where did I leave off? Okay. After the Young was waging a militant campaign for better housing in what was known as Harlemville, the area between 72nd and 145th Street, between Central Park West and Broadway. Nationally, a younger crop of workers embroiled by the Black Power and anti-war movements attempted but failed to maintain their wages and ward off an employer's offensive against benefits. Their actions, which took the form of wildcat strikes and shop floor slowdowns initiated by Radical Workers Caucus, operating independently of union leadership, soon declined, even as organizations were losing ground. COINTELPRO was determined to sow discord, distrust, and suspicion. Despite the PRRWO continued study of Marxism, its application of dialectical materialism was for understanding the real world missed the mark. The PRRWO, alongside the new communist movement of the time, was not able to foresee the long-term rightward shift that was afoot in American politics. Moreover, PRRWO attempts at influencing workers at the point of production were without a clear strategy and lacked the deployment of critical mass of members in a specific industry that might collectively learn the basics of working place organizing in order to influence a massive members of workers. Much like much like the young laws experienced in Puerto Rico as novice in labor organizing, the PRRWO spread itself thin at the same time that it lacked the experience necessary to attempt its latest challenge. In the absence of a clear and long-term political perspective and identification of obtainable goals, the PRRWO tended political perspectives and identification of obtainable goals. The PRWO tended to romanticize workers rather than access them as a class with potential objective power under certain optimal conditions. On the other hand, the PRRWO increased study of Marxism, separate from real direct collective engagement in society, led by the words alone to an ivory tower approach to its work. Ideological debate was fetish among the group's leaders and its members. As these radicals became more conversant in Marxist literature that was still taboo in most U.S. society, they came to believe that they held the enlightening position of knowing what was best for everybody. They thought they were Marxists. As every turn, PRRWO banned members who expressed critical opinions for the decline in membership group. The frustration of the period was directed inward, even as the leadership was aware of the FBI meddling in the life of the organization. The Young Law's office was raided by the FBI regularly, and provocateurs were in their midst. Those who were suspected of being agents were purged in show trials that eroded what had been a culture of trust and fraternity. Those who stayed the course were asked to work harder. Somebody else take over, please.
Right on. Where do we leave off? All right. Sorry. Go ahead, Comrade
Or
Joe.
if somebody else would like to read, I can follow up after. I'm not in no hurry.
I can take over.
Okay.
Sure. Go ahead, Comrade.
Okay. At every turn, right?
Let me see. I think so. Yeah.
Okay. At every turn, PRRWO blamed members who expressed critical opinions for the decline in membership of the group. The frustrations of the period were directed inward, even as the leadership was aware of FBI meddling in the life of the organization. The Young Lords' offices were raided by the FBI regularly, and provocateurs were in their midst. Those who were suspected of being agents were purged in show trials that eroded what had been a culture of trust and fraternity. Those who stayed the course were asked to work harder. Sometime in 1973, Don Wright, by then Goya Fontanez's husband, became the RU representative in the NLC. The politics he upheld in these meetings turned out to be different from those of the RU. Composed largely of organizations wedded to the fight against national oppression, the NLC had reached consensus on one issue, that new African workers and other colonized workers must play a leading role in the coming revolutionary struggle. Because of the systematic use of racism to divide the working class and the persistence of racism in the ranks of European workers, colonized radicals posited that a genuine socialist revolution in the United States demanded African working class leadership. Their slogan was thus, Black workers take the lead. However, Don Wright was misrepresenting the position of the RU. Increasingly, the RU saw revolutionary nationalists' assumption that African workers should lead revolutionary struggle as a barrier to working class unity. The RU also opposed the busing program in Boston to end racial discrimination in education and what the RU perceived as busing's liberal and assimilationist designs. In doing so, the RU ceded ground to the racism of the anti-busing movement in Boston, which was led by reactionary European American Bostonians and their allied politicians. Critical of the RU's growing dismissal of revolutionary nationalism in 1974, PRRWO broke ties with RU, and RU broke ties with Don Wright. That same year, Fernandez and Wright had a child, and Wright joined PRRWO. Yet the dysfunctionality of the PRRWO continued. According to Fernandez, there was inside the organization a time of darkness that I wish I had not been a part of. Like in the Cultural Revolution of Mao Zedong, we adopted the Inquisition methods, the methods of torture, and the methods of real cultural revolution, which was to go after the enemy of the people. If we believed that someone was the enemy of the people, we would go after that person. There were people that were in charge of the security of the organization who were involved, who later on washed their hands and threw it all on me. But Fernandez was at the center of the growing chaos. As the lead person of the Central Committee, she wielded an enormous amount of power. Throughout her tenure in the organization, she had exploited traditional gender roles to beguile men with status and power. Tragically, her use of fear and desire to control the people around her, as both siren and executioner, flew in the face of women's struggle for equality and respect in the organization. Clearly, that didn't work. The year 1974 saw the resignations of Juan Gonzalez, Aris Morales, Pablo Guzman, David Perez, and others. Whoa. Wow. Those left behind, including Gilbert Colon, Carlito Rovira, Richie Perez, and Hernan Horachan Flores, felt profoundly betrayed by those who left. Of the departure of his cousin Pablo Guzman, Colon explains, quote, "He tells me I'm leaving, but he doesn't say why. I actually was naive enough to think that he owed an explanation. I got involved in this shit because of you. And now you're telling me you're leaving and you ain't gonna tell me why." And so I developed this animus against people like him who would just cut out and not say why. That set in my mind this whole attitude that if someone was critical, I would think, oh, you're down with them people that cut out. But many who
Stop for a minute. Stop for a minute. Let me say something in reference to that, man. That really happened. And the people who left, and I know because I know all the people who left, personally. The people who left, they left because Fernandez, she was a dictator, man, within herself. She wanted to rule and control the party all by herself. That's why they changed it to PRRWO. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
With an iron fist, and clearly that didn't work.
Exactly. Like once again, she was a revisionist.
She was a dictator, man. She was a dictator.
She was a dictator, and this is literally Revolution 101. Do not lead a revolutionary organization with an iron fist because it's going to bite you in the ass later.
That's right. That's right.
Yep.
And clearly that didn't work.
Yep, clearly.
Like, you can't be a dictator. It's
And-
like a cult.
Yep, literally, it's a cult of personality. That's what she wanted. She didn't actually want anyone to engage in a critical and scientific analysis. She didn't want to actually discuss and look at themselves and see what the party could have done better to better adapt to their materialistic conditions. She wanted to stay the course, stay dogmatic, and not engage in any principled and disciplined discussion. One thing that I also found very interesting about this is how she demonized men who held positions of power within a party and immediately assumed that because they were men and because they held positions of power within a party, they must have been inherently misogynistic or some shit like that. Like, no.
No, no.
Like, just no. Like once again.
That hatred that she tried to do clearly, where did that end the YLP at?
In the ground, dead.
Ground. Because you're not supposed to be on this hate train against men. Like, yeah, it might be fun and cute and whatnot in the beginning, but it doesn't help anything. And
exactly. It makes things worse.
Myself, I was in that hate train myself in the beginning when I was getting my politics, underway. So like it's been a whole change of scenery for me, but it just doesn't work. I'm sorry, but it just doesn't work. No matter how hard they try to make it seem like, it's making progress for women and other gender diverse people, it's not.
Exactly. And like I've said before, just because it is a man engaging criticism does not mean that criticism is going to be inherently misogynistic or queerphobic. Like,
because eventually it's going to get bitter. It's
exactly,
just bitter.
Exactly. Not every man who engages in criticism and who has a position of power within the party is inherently a chauvinist. Like, no.
That's why we guide them. That's why we guide each other. This is why non-hierarchical decentralization in these organizations need to take place, because everyone has a say so, and everyone holds each other accountable.
Exactly.
This way.
This is why crit and self-crit. That's what we gotta do.
This is why non-hierarchy is important. Keep this in mind.
Indeed. Beautifully said. Continue on, Comrade Shanti.
All right. But many who left the PRRWO had done so because they understood that the culture of the organization was irreparably damaged, that open political disagreements were denounced either as individualistic and petite bourgeois or inspired by government provocateurs, and therefore it was impossible to set the organization on a healthier track. Meanwhile, Fontanez's relationship with Wright was a microcosm of the violence that gripped the organization. As she explains, quote, "When I got together and married him, I started drinking with him and became addicted. Wright had taken to abusing and torturing Fontanez." Whoa. Okay. Fontanez then deployed the same treatment against dissenters. In 1974, Richie Perez was accused of being an agent and beaten up by PRRWO members on Fontanez's orders. Oh, look, this is getting worse.
True. That happened. I was there to see that shit, man. I was there to see that shit. Matter of fact, Richie Perez called us. Yeah, I wasn't directly in the place, but I wasn't too far away when Richie Perez called Panama. Panama called me, and I called some other people. And they were held hostages. There were some brothers, man, that were held hostages, man, by this woman, man. This woman was ridiculous, man. They held them hostage and got beat up and everything. I mean, but let's not look at also the Young Lord. The Panthers did the same thing too.
Yeah, they did. They did. Like, this is getting worse, child. Whoa. Wow.
But that was foul, man. That was foul.
That was foul.
You can't. Regardless. I mean, you don't just beat up somebody, man, because you think that they're agents. You got to investigate. You got to investigate them.
It just doesn't work that way. Like that dogmatic stuff that they just collapsed under it, and they thought that beating up someone because they assume they assume that they are an agent by beating them up, and like that's the U.S. government type shit. Okay, we're not the U.S. government. Like this is not COINTELPRO, but even though COINTELPRO was literally eating them up from the inside out, the Young Lords, the Black Panthers, like they targeted everyone and they made everyone lose their damn mind.
And you're gonna read, as you keep on reading, you're gonna find out that as quiet as kept, she was down with the this whole spying stuff, man, with the agents. As you read on, you'll find out.
All right, let me see. Odui Robas was held hostage also on her orders. On another occasion, Fontanez showed up at Huracan's house in the middle of the night, bloodied, with her infant girl, after having been beaten by Wright. She then ordered Huracan and Carlito Rivera to raid Wright's apartment and strip it clean. Although she did not reveal it to the men, she left when she discovered that Wright was an FBI agent. Oh.
You see that?
Wow.
And Wright was our old man.
Wow. Wow.
That's some that
Whoa.
yo like God damn, bro. What the fuck?
Wow. Oh, wow.
Fucking bamboozled.
Are you
What
serious?
the fuck?
Are you serious?
Yo, this isn't even the wildest shit that I've heard, because Comrade Che, I think you were there.
Scandalous.
Comrade Che, I think you were here when we read it. Shanti, you weren't here, but when we were reading when we were reading Ojibwa Warrior, who was the chairman of AIM during that time again? What was his name again?
Oh God.
Dennis Banks. Dennis Banks.
Yeah.
Dennis Banks' wife, which was with him for like a couple of years, came out as an FBI agent.
What?
Yeah.
Years.
What?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
What?
Yep.
Wow.
That's how it turned out.
Yep.
Wow.
Yep. She had like 3-4 children with him, and then years later she came out as an FBI agent.
How did that happen?
I have no idea.
Wow. Like this is scandalous. This is too
See,
scandalous.
that's why, man, when we talk about we revolutionaries, we really got to be very, very, very on top of that.
Right.
You have to be critical.
This will
You gotta be
result
very
in stuff like
critical,
this.
man.
Like,
it will result in stuff like this.
exactly. We really have to be careful of who we let into our social circles and who we associate with, because the person that we think is a comrade today might come out as an FBI agent or a COINTELPRO agent tomorrow. We gotta be really careful.
This is Revolution 101, people.
Always be
Revolution
critical. Always be critical. Be critical and
I like
self-critical.
that. I like that.
Okay, like
Revolutionary 101.
be critical because not everyone is going to be your comrade. Well, anyone's comrade. Like that's just the truth. As long as the system exists, like we have to be hyper aware. That's the point. You have to be on top of it. If you don't, then clearly this lateral harm and lateral violence is going to fester. Like this is more than lateral violence. It's just foolishness. It's just foolishness. Like what the hell are you doing? Like this is just reckless. But let's go on. Let's go on. Okay. I remember coming home, opening up my sofa and finding a whole slew of rifles and guns that had been put there. We were living on the Lower East Side, and I find this notice that says to all agents, subjects, and then it went on, but I froze there. I said, oh my God. So I start looking through tapes that he had, and I put a tape on, and he's talking to me over the phone while I was living at my cousin Carmen Cruz's house, and he called me there while he was in Chicago, and he's taping it. According to Carlito Rivera, David Perez has suspected that Wright was an agent earlier that same year, and prominent members of the RU has similar suspicions. At the time of his death, Donald Herbert Wright, who was nursed by Fontanez's daughter, was employed as a sheriff in the South. Organizations like the Young Lords and the Black Panthers captured the imagination of tens of thousands of people, young and old, in cities across the country and around the world. Although most did not join their ranks, they were inspired by the daring of these groups, their intrepid defiance of power, and their vision of a revolutionary society. These organizations grew because they disciplined and channeled widespread urban discontent wherever they were active. They also propagated revolutionary socialist ideas, theories, and practices, taboo only a decade earlier under McCarthyism, in the language and style that made them popular in communities of color across the country. These organizations came into being because of the tenacity and talent of their members, but also because of the widespread leftward shift in consciousness that took place in the second half of the decade throughout the world, fueled in part by national independence wars or decolonization struggles in Vietnam, Algeria, Palestine, Kenya, and later Angola, Mozambique, and beyond. Both organizations mushroomed during and immediately after the uprisings of 1968. The Vietnamese set the tone during that year's Tet Offensive. Mass student protests followed, in some cases joined by workers in Rome, Madrid, Paris, Belgrade, Prague, Mexico City, Pakistan, Chicago, and on US college campuses. Another wave of urban rebellion swept through the country that year following Martin Luther King's assassination by the government, not James Earl Ray. The Black Panthers and Young Lords therefore amplified their revolutionary dreams and practices during a period of global revolutionary awakening, but also at a moment when the United States faced its greatest political challenge internationally. In Asia, Vietnamese guerrillas dealt a blow to American hegemony during the Tet Offensive, both militarily and in terms of its political symbolism. Back home, Black revolutionaries, the majority descendants of Southern slaves, were exposing American capitalism from the inside. Shortly thereafter, the mainland-born children of America's last colony, Puerto Rico, followed suit. These threats were more symbolic than real, but they held power because they were spearheaded by the most demeaned and oppressed sectors of US society. They were an affront that American power would not abide, and during those same years, J. Edgar Hoover set out to destroy these organizations. The volume of Young Lords' COINTELPRO documents and agents assigned to disrupt the organization is dizzying. The Young Lords' violent collapse, the unforgiving enmity and distress sowed within its ranks, and the trauma inflicted on its members are largely products of the FBI's systematic campaign to destroy this particular section of the New Left. Even when informants reported that the group was financially bankrupt, structurally decimated, and its members demoralized and embattled, surveillance and disruption continued unabated. It seemed that COINTELPRO wanted to ensure the organization's implosion and an erasure of its history fueled by the shame of comrades turning on each other. But violent government repression alone did not destroy the Young Lords. From its moment of its inception, government agents were operating within the organization, documenting its campaigns and attempting to wreak havoc within it. But the Young Lords' dynamism, the connection of its practice and politics to communities and to the streets during its two most productive years, and the still large-scale character of the movement in 1969 and 1970 likely intimidated agents, even as it motivated the FBI to continue its disruptive work. The Young Lords' disconnection from the grassroots beginning in 1971, but also the broader movement's decline, made the organization more vulnerable to COINTELPRO disruption than before. These same factors also made it vulnerable to the machinations of authoritarian individuals. The YLP's political inexperience, the difficulties it faced when it came to reading the political moment in which it was operating, and a shift to a dogmatic embrace of the particular kind of, quote, Marxism, Leninism that was increasingly popular in the New Left were all used by COINTELPRO to bring about its demise. Other factors contributed to the organization's decline. The YLP's early formulations around membership requirements that members of the organization had to be young lords, quote, 25 hours a day, which clearly did not work either, had by default excluded even highly motivated working people with jobs and family responsibilities. Although the organization established this rule in part as a means of disciplining the often highly undisciplined lumpen elements it attracted, the policy could potentially disconnect the group from the majority of Puerto Ricans living in New York. By ensuring that the group would likely only attract diehard activists and lumpen elements, the policy fed a particular kind of activism that tended to detach it from social reality, especially when the group's outward-looking campaigns began to ebb. In many ways, the young lords reflected, but also attempted to overcome, a series of characteristics common among a wide variety of late 1960s radicals who were diehard, often ruled by the impatience of youth and a belief in the possibility of delivering freedom to, quote, the people. And like in many of these groups, the young lords became more entrenched in these politics during periods of organizational stagnation, especially as the movement seemed to be dying down. The young lords' move to Puerto Rico can be traced to interrelated, long-standing developments, both internal and external to the organization. Among the immediate internal causes of the move was the devastating impact of Julio Rodán's death. As discussed in the previous chapter, the suspicions surrounding the death evoked the organization's instincts towards paranoia. Disillusioned by the growing repression of the left and the Black Panther Party split, the group's membership suffered unprocessed trauma and were ill-equipped to challenge those who embraced a narrower conception of nationalism.
Oh, I just wanted to say, Comrade Will, you raised your hand. Do you want to say something?
Oh yeah, I have one of the young lords is in the lobby waiting to be let in.
Sorry, what?
One of the young lords is in like the lobby. He's trying to like listen. Like he joined, but we gotta let him in. Like,
Oh, let me see. Sorry about that. I
Sorry
didn't.
about that. I went out for a minute to get some water.
are you all good?
Wait, is there someone in the waiting room?
Yes.
Let me see. Come on. How do I? Sorry, y'all. I'm having some technical difficulties.
You're all cool.
Okay.
Well, it's a lesson for me because I should have been here.
Well, I'm gonna give you co-host capability so you can let them in.
Okay, cool. I'm not sure how to let people in, but I'll figure it out.
So click on where it says members, and it should say it.
Like participants?
Yeah, participants. Click on participants, and it should show you the option to let them in.
I just see everybody that's here. Maybe he left because like he low key like asked me like 5 minutes ago. So,
Damn, I didn't read it. Wait, let me
Wait a minute. Will?
yeah.
Is that you?
Yeah, I've been here. I just haven't been saying nothing for real.
Oh my God, hey!
Hey, Will.
Hey! Oh my God, I didn't notice you were. I didn't notice that was you. Oh my God.
Oh, I appreciate you. I appreciate you. Yes, it is me. Appreciate your contributions.
It's the one, the only.
Thank you. Oh my God, welcome.
Shanti, do you want to continue reading?
Yeah, sure.
All right. Sorry. What? Organization, right?
Yeah.
All right. Just go down.
We were equipped to challenge those who embraced a narrower conception of nationalism than the organization had previously espoused. And Felipe Luciano, who would have unequivocally challenged the position, was gone. Although the organization proposed a plan for community engagement in the mainland, the move drained and stretched its resources, making its mass work impossible to carry out by an exhausted and disoriented membership with unspoken reservations about the new perspective. The young lords' pursuit of revolution and greener pastures in Puerto Rico was fueled in part by a political misassessment of the moment. Emphasis on the moment. Many movement activists believed that revolution was around the corner, but conservative restoration had been underway in the United States since the 1960s. Very important to keep in mind here. The move was presumptuous and fueled by the assumption held by a section of the Young Lords' leadership that revolutionary potential was about will, with little real regard for social conditions or the level of political consciousness in society. Political disorientation, isolation from the masses, and its notion of the revolutionary process, that sheer will, dedication, and hard work among small groups rather than classes form the motor force of change, combined with youthful impatience, unseated the young lords from their earlier place of influence. For the young lords, whose heritage allowed them to identify and imagine a colonial nation to which they belonged, forsaking the opportunity of launching their own liberation project during this period of heightened political fervor, which would have taken hard, honest self-assessment and reflection. Amid widespread revolt in third world nations, American radicals began to argue that struggles originating in the Third World were the vanguard of world revolution, and they were. The task of developing a revolutionary praxis among non-revolutionary workers in the heart of empire was, however, a daunting challenge. After having given their lives, hearts, and souls to the movement, many individual American radicals were lured by the promise of revolution abroad, and some abandoned domestic struggles for those with greater perceived revolutionary potential in the third world. The Young Lords' decision to restructure the organization and take on the task of building an independence movement in Puerto Rico, a place whose local politics they knew very little about and whose language many members did not speak, was similarly influenced by the idealization of the Third World. In reorienting the group to fight for Puerto Rican independence on the island itself, the Central Committee did not consider the absence at the time of the mass movement with that demand. The belief that the Young Lords could somehow leap over their organizational weaknesses and transform themselves into the revolutionary leaders that could free Puerto Rico contradicted the Central Committee's assessment of itself. In the retreat documents, YLP leadership was accurate about the organization's deficits. The organization's membership have grown by leaps and bounds in less than 2 years. Its infrastructure needed reinforcement and its cadre political training. The Central Committee, nevertheless, proposed a program that will further weaken and overstretch the organization. Felipe Luciano, the person who, along with others, might have successfully challenged the proposal, was gone. The organization did not possess a critical number of politically courageous and confident cadre capable of forcing an organization-wide debate about the move. One who attempted it, Carlos Aponte, paid a heavy price. The consequences of hyper-centralized political assessment and decision-making were felt immediately in the organization. Among newer and less experienced members, a culture of passivity and a tendency to be led uncritically took the place of any clear understanding of or commitment to political strategy. Cadre did not put up a fight, nor did it stand up for those with experience who challenged the leadership's perspective. Those who spoke up fell into disfavor or were charged with violating the tenets of democratic centralism. Disgruntled and demoralized by the organization's new direction, the first wave of Young Lords left the organization in January 1971. Others who believed they could influence the direction of the organization for which they had sacrificed encountered deeper hostility by a leadership that continued to clamp down on open debate and discussion. Vocal members like Carlos Aponte, among others, were wrongly accused of being government agents with no evidence and driven out of the organization. Finally, the long-term internal causes of the shift in the organization can be traced to the contradictions inherent in the political ideas that were hegemonic on the left and that the YLP was increasingly adopting. Commonly referred to as Maoism or Mao Zedong thought, the political framework and revolutionary theories embraced by many in this period favored authoritarian structures that lacked democratic debate and decision-making. Much of what became known as Maoist thought was also contradictory. For example, While Maoism promoted international working class solidarity and a socialist movement rhetorically, Mao's government had a highly nationalist outlook and promoted alliances with many decidedly non-socialist rulers, which in the early 1970s came to include even Richard Nixon. Thus, while Maoist leading radicals embraced the notion of revolution and were self-proclaimed socialists, they were equivocal about the kind of revolutionary process they espoused in practice. Moreover, for Maoists, the revolutionary process depended more on the power of political will than on favorable material conditions, as Marxists had traditionally argued. Thus, US-based Maoists embraced missionary-like political work among the people as a major catalyst of revolution, rather than mass popular insurrection. The slogan, "Serve the People," popularized by the BPP, was an extension of this logic, whose premise decreed that through dedicated service, the cadre of a revolutionary group could deliver a better world to, quote, the people, in the here and now, as well as in the socialist future. In the United States, this kind of prefigurative action inspired, disciplined, and activated many, but in the absence of other parallel initiatives involving broader sectors of the population as actors themselves, the survival programs were limited. The Young Lords' immense success during its early years was due to its combination of survival programs and militant campaigns that involved thousands of others in paralyzed sectors of the city. Unique for its time, the YLP's management and artful use of media also amplified its influence beyond its numbers. However, under the narrow serve the people framework, the people did not have to be the subject of history, but could be liberated by a dedicated group of enlightened revolutionaries. When the mass character of the movement declined, the logic of this politics also fueled revolutionary activities on the opposite end of the spectrum. That notion that small isolated groups might create revolutionary change. Foucaultism. In the revolutionary state in the United States, where radicals were learning what it meant to be, were learning what it meant to be to build a revolutionary organization under the pressures and in the heat of struggle, this paradoxical combination of options led to political confusion, organizational splits, and decline. COINTELPRO took advantage of all of this. Social isolation turned the organization moralistic and evangelical about their project. In the context of growing cult-like behavior in PRRWO, COINTELPRO threw the devil in the mix, the sense that members had to be purged and excommunicated for disobeying what by then had become scripture. The very language used by their brand of sectarian politics, the purging of members as, quote, enemies of the people, once again misusing Maoism, fit in perfectly with COINTELPRO designs. Influenced by COINTELPRO, narrow nationalist currents and authoritarian figures like Gloria Fontanez and her influence on key members, the Young Lords made a wrong and costly political turn in 1971. Before then, however, the Young Lords created a profoundly effective, beloved, and exciting socialist organization that fueled the power of the New Left and made a lasting impression on US consciousness and history.
That was amazing. Let me see. Let me see. Oh, the page intentionally left blank. This page intentionally left blank. Okay.
Yeah,
I thought this was the end of the book.
Okay, wow.
This is awesome, y'all. Oh, I love this so much. This is
So we at the
amazing.
last chapter now.
Yep.
Oh, really? Yay! Wow, that was scandalous to
It was.
say the least. Like, Gloria was losing her mind. Like, wow.
I received a call from Panama, that Richard Perez and a few other people were being held hostages in a room somewhere up in the Bronx. Carlos Feliciano, which happens to have been one of the oldest nationalists involved, he also was part of the deal. He was also, as a matter of fact, they even said that he was part of being an agent. And I personally think he was an agent, because he was doing a lot of stuff, man, promoting, advocating a lot of stuff within the party, and had people, man, being labeled all kinds of names. Richard Perez was never an agent. You know, Ricky Melendez was another brother they don't even mention it in there, but he was also a hostage. You know, that woman Fontanez, she held about close to about 8 people in a one room, all strapped down, tied down to the chairs and being beaten
What?
up. Yeah, that's how it was. That's how it went down. They were
Oh,
tied in chairs and they were being beaten.
what
You know,
kind? What kind of CIA shit is this?
that
I
was that
can't
woman's shit, man. That woman was
believe it.
crazy, man. That woman went crazy after she found out that her husband was an agent.
An agent. And so, like when we got to that part, I was like, whoa, wait.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to ask Comrade Che, when she was married to Wright, could she have been an agent her damn self, and like when we're
I,
talking pro and tell pro?
brother, I personally, I feel that yes, she was an agent. She had to be an agent. I mean, she's married to one. I mean, if you're married to an agent, eventually, man, you pick up characteristics.
You
Right,
pick
correct.
up. Yeah.
Characteristics, man, of the agent's behaviors and personalities. And then they start sharing ideas and thoughts and secrets. And before you know it, you're an agent and you don't even know
You're an
it.
agent
You
now.
became
Like,
Yeah.
what kind of Bonnie and Clyde shit is this? I mean,
Yeah,
seriously.
a good example. I'm gonna give you a good example. When I came home from Attica, I mean not from Attica, I came home from Clinton, but when I came home from prison, I got involved with the Midnight Special. There was an organization that did work with prisoners, and out of nowhere, this dude came into the organization and he became part of our ideas. I used to hang out with him at night. We got drunk together. We drunk together, etc., etc., etc. You know, and he used to take me to Buffalo, man, to see other brothers, man. And during that time, some of the brothers were being indicted by the state. 62 brothers were indicted. I know I talked about that, but maybe I will soon. And so they got it. I was going to Buffalo for the indictment of these brothers. And this guy was driving, and so I shared so many thoughts with him. And guess what? When the indictments came down, this dude disappeared. He totally disappeared.
Wow.
And then
What is
later
it?
on, when I asked, "Where's Red, man?" Because the name he was a Europe, he was white. Well, he wasn't a white dude. He was a European. Where's Red Murphy? Red Murphy is no longer with us. Well, what happened to him? He's an agent. Oh
Oh,
God.
man.
Oh my God. What?
That blew my mind because I shared so many thoughts and ideas with him.
In the organization. I swear to God. So
Yeah,
many
like they
agents.
say, I got your back, but like way back there, you know what I mean? Scandalous. Hey, but one of the other things I wanted to bring up too, Comrade Gabby had mentioned the book we read previously, Ojibwe Warrior, when Dennis Banks versus Fontanez, she married Wright, and Dennis Banks was married to a Darlene Nichols, known as Kamuk.
Yeah, Kamuk,
They
that's
were
what her
married
name
from
was.
1972 to 1989, and she was not an agent, even when she had a baby in prison. she did not turn agent until after the murder of Annie Mae Aquash, and AIM possibly being involved in that, and that she ended up becoming an FBI informant. And she even wore a wire with Dennis Banks and several other people, and went in there and infiltrated. So when we're talking about COINTELPRO too, we definitely got to be careful even in today's times, because the more active you get, the more negativity you're going to face, and more people just pretty much talking out of the side of their neck because they're not grateful that they're doing something or trying to do something or learning to do something. And
The new world.
it gets hateful. But I don't want to keep on talking. I just wanted to bring that out.
I mean, I don't have no doubt. I don't have no doubt that even Che Guevara, as quiet as he kept, you know, somebody in his group was an agent, because they Bolivia to kill him.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why, like you said something earlier, Comrade Che, and I'll stop talking to you here. And I know we have Sister Siavi, Los Brown Beret comrade. I think she's joining for the first time. I don't want to put her on blast, but I just wanted to announce her if nobody knew who she is. Maybe if
Hello,
she,
comrade. Nice to meet you.
Hello. Hello.
Wow,
Hello.
I got birthed in fire to come here. Didn't expect all this. This is dope.
Right on, comrade. Right on. I'm glad that you can make it. I'm glad that you're here.
Yep, for sure. Represent Los Brown Berets. Oh, and I'm part of the Rainbow Coalition too.
Nice. Do you sorry.
I'm also part of Raza Unida.
Right on.
Oh yeah.
Do you have a sorry?
It's a political party, if you guys don't know Raza Unida.
Yeah, I follow them.
Oh, nice.
I follow them too. Do you have anything to say about this chapter, comrade?
I'm just happy to be a part of it. I'll keep joining if I keep getting the invite from Joe. And usually I'm good at giving feedback. I think it's like a new chat, so I'm kind of shy.
Right on.
Thanks for letting me be a part of it.
Right on. And what Comrade Joe was saying, you know, like we especially have to be careful because once again, COINTELPRO never left. They never left. They're still here to this very day. They just became more sophisticated in their action, in their way of disorganizing, misguiding, and confusing organizations and revising the original goal of the party. And this right here,
there's no doubt that just like COINTELPRO know how we know how they function. COINTELPRO has changed various methods and strategies to attack us. So what they used to do, they don't do it no more. They're doing it on a higher plane.
Yep, they're doing it in a higher plane. They have become more sophisticated, more passable for being quote unquote revolutionaries than they were before, which is very scary.
Yeah,
and
you have a
also I just want to say I just want to say for everyone, if anyone wants to speak, it's best to raise y'all's hands. Just want to say that.
I've got mine right.
Right on. You were gonna say, comrade?
It has happened in recent times. I don't know if you guys know Red Fawn, but she's one of my mom's. Well, she's my friend too, but her mom and my mom were best friends. And Red Fawn was at Standing Rock, and they tried accusing her of trying to shoot the couple of the cops there, and she didn't. And the person who accused her of or who set her up is actually her boyfriend who got with her at Standing Rock. And so he came out during her testimony to testify against her and state basically that he is an FBI agent And this is in recent times, you guys. This is just at Standing Rock. That was just a couple years ago.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, and so we're good friends with her now, and she's doing good. She's doing a lot better. But he went undercover as her boyfriend for a couple months at Standing Rock. Like probably maybe about 6 months at least.
Damn.
Wow.
That's wild. And
he
once
set her
again,
up. She told us that she didn't try to shoot anybody. Just they attacked her and then made it seem like I don't know if they put the gun in her hand because she said she didn't do it. And so it was all a setup. She had to do at least 4 years. And she had the maximum sentence or whatever, but she also did more time than any other protester at Standing Rock. She barely got out like last year.
wow. That's wild. Jeez,
Red Fawn, what's her last name? Might be Dallas. But yeah, Red Fawn Standing Rock. You should find it just by Googling it. She's a local, so not a local celebrity, but celebrity amongst brown revolutionaries or native revolutionaries because she did time for something she never did.
just like Leonard Peltier.
And it's not a war.
Yep.
Yeah, she's like our new Leonard Peltier.
I'm glad to hear that she's doing good, and I'm glad that she's safe. And this right here, man, because once again, the best way to destroy a fortress is not from outside; it's from the inside. It's from causing chaos and miscommunication and disarray from within. And when you look at most communist movements throughout the course of history, most of them, the Bolsheviks, the PRC, the Black Panther Party, the Young Lords, and so on and so forth, the majority of them ended up going down because of internal conflicts. And while the Second Rainbow Coalition and the different organizations within the U.S., like the Black Panther Party, while they were brought down by COINTELPRO brought them down primarily by making internal conflicts worse within the party, conflicts that were not being settled with, conflicts that were not being uprooted and changed through criticism and self-criticisms, through uprooting and unlearning any reactionary sentiments that the organization had to more properly discipline and make the masses principled. I mean, what Comrade Kwame said last time, the original Black Panther Party didn't really have a mass base. So anyone could come into the organization and become cadre, and they could have various different ideas and various different ideological and political lines. So that was one of the things that definitely made it extremely easy for COINTELPRO to go inside the party, because anyone could basically become a cadre.
Like anyone, like literally
anyone. So the fact that now we have a mass base to radicalize the masses and meet them where they're at psychologically and materially, in order to help them gain a more principled and dialectical and scientific analysis on things, is a much better method than what the organizations did back then. It's very fascinating. So yeah.
Yeah, I wanted to share also, going back to kind of what we're discussing, like my grandfather told me, how many fingers do you have in a hand? And there's 4, because you have 4 fingers and a thumb. He goes, well, if you have more than 4 friends, then you're in trouble, kid. And then my dad always told me, keep your circle small. But as revolutionaries, and when we're dealing with the masses, of course, we're broadening out, and we're getting bringing attention to our movements and our causes, and being out there in the limelight. So it's kind of hard to go by those old simple rules.
Right.
And it makes it real hard. And then, especially figuring out, like, even, like we're talking about relationships, even I'm single, and I have to probably stay single as a revolutionary Chicano activist, nationalist for Aslan, because I'm more committed into the movement than anything. And it's real hard even for single people, and like those that are single, please be cautious on who we choose to associate with and deal with, because it could turn around to bite us in the ass. And that's all. Comments.
Indeed. Shanti, you have your hand raised?
Yes. This whole chapter, I literally need a drink after reading. Like, oh my God. This is, once again, this is Revolution 101. Be careful who you try to radicalize, because not everyone is for liberation, and not everyone is for the people, for themselves. That's why you have to be very, very hyper aware of who you let into these circles, because there are opportunists and dogmatic people and opportunistic, chauvinistic people in sheep's clothing that can literally destabilize everything. And what Gloria was doing, that CIA shit that she was trying to do, trying to be, all superwoman and shit like that. Clearly,
girl boss.
Clearly, it didn't work. Like she became very chauvinistic, a very, very chauvinistic woman, and look at where the YLP ended up at because of that, because of the fact that they were being classist towards their lumpen base and try to do the whole education thing on the lumpen, whatever shit they try to do with that. I don't know what the hell they were thinking with that. Deeming survival programs as volunteerism, moving their entire operation to their homeland, not knowing a damn thing about what was actually going on in the island, not taking that into account, not adapting to the material conditions of the island, not even opening a chapter, at least, in their homeland. Like, it completely just imploded. It just imploded. They did too much, but did so much wrong. And that is a cautionary tale for every revolutionary or revolutionary in training. Do not become a cult. Do not become a cult. I don't care. I don't care if you are an enlightened person. I don't care if you know more than the mass base. Do not become a cult. Because what's going to happen is that the plight for what you're trying to achieve is going to fall apart, and it's going to turn into some CIA, Charles Manson type shit, and it's not going to be about revolution anymore. It's not about meeting the people where they're at anymore. It's about being reactionary and being just so paranoid that you don't trust even anyone, not even yourself. And you're gonna lose your mind just like Gloria. We don't want any Glorias in our revolution, in our revolutionary struggle. That's why we have to be hyper aware of who we let into these circles and what approach we take. Because if we don't do it the right way, if we don't adapt, if we don't make it decentralized where everyone has a say so and everyone has a say so, they can express their opinions, their critiques, in a space to self-critique healthfully, you're going to end up like Gloria.
Yep. That's what's going to happen. You're going to end up like Gloria. And one of the biggest faults that the Young Lord Party did, one of their biggest faults was their retreat, how they did their retreat. Because once again, they wanted to restructure their organization and call out some of the things that they were doing incorrectly, which was a good thing. However, instead of only making it a central committee thing, they should have made it a mass scale thing where they incorporated the masses as well, where they talked to them and actually saw how they could have done better to actually meet them where they were at. And the reason why they didn't do this was because, once again, their transition from believing in a more commandist, adventuristic notion and abandoning intercommunalism, abandoning the survival programs, abandoning what originally made their organization so popularly known on a mass scale, was meeting the masses where they're at. That's one of the things that definitely led to them not being able to correctly adapt and improve upon their ideological and political line.
Hierarchy killed the YLP.
Yep, that's what happened. That classist elitist sentiments killed it.
That's why hierarchy cannot have a place in our struggle, because once again, it's very chauvinistic hierarchies that do not serve anyone at all. It's not serving any purpose. That's why we have non-hierarchical, intercommunal, decentralized structures, so that everyone has a say-so, that everyone has a chance, where everyone can be everyone can be equally involved, where they can be able to share their critiques, share their feelings, just what a revolutionary is supposed to do. And they didn't do that. Hierarchy killed the YLP.
Beautifully said.
If I can jump in there, I wanted to ask Che on something that came up on today's reading. When Gloria Fontanez, three people had resigned, 3 or 4 people had resigned because of her dictatorship, which we got to be careful also too. Now, when you said it one way, comrade, that it's not just being in power, and sometimes being in power goes to people's heads, but it's not an empowerment. It's empowering others. That's the empowerment of it. But I wanted, Che, if you could talk about, because that's happening kind of like nowadays too, where you'll have bad leadership and it'll like wayward the peoples, where good, strong brothers and sisters will leave the organization or the movement due to bad leadership, and it kind of makes us in all different organizations look bad. But can you say a little bit more about that, Che? And when those 3 individual or 4 individuals left, how did that affect the structure of the Young Lords at that time?
It affected them in many ways, man. They created a bad reputation for themselves, and not only that, but we gotta look at the mass base, man, in terms of people in the communities, man, how they started seeing that shit. They a lot of people just got put, they just faded away, man, as a result of that, man. I was amazed. I was shocked, to know that some of my brothers, man, were being held hostage. Hostage. That was the name that they used, hostage.
That's crazy. Yeah, thank you.
In a room, all strapped down to with belts and everything, man, in the chairs. Man, it was crazy. It was really crazy. When when Brother Richard Perez was able to get away, man, Panama escaped, and so when he escaped, man, he put the word out, man, of what was happening. And that's how everything came. Because at first it was secret, man. People were, that were being held, that was a secret, but once some brothers were able to get away, everything just came to the surface, man. And people just started looking at this woman, man, looking at her in a strange kind of way. You know, we got a central committee. If you got a central committee and it's really well organized central committee, you don't need to worry about any problems in the organization because the central committee will take care of that itself. But when you find there's so many conflicts in the party, apparently there must be something wrong with the central committee. Because central committee is a reflection of the party, and the party is a reflection of the central committee. They're both supposed to be a reflection of each other, And so, I mean, I don't know. I just, it was a bad reputation, I must say, man. The Young Lost took a bad reputation as a result of all that was happening, and they fell. They fell. And I must say it that way too. They just went, they deteriorated, man. But another part was, man, the whole thing that they went to Puerto Rico. They went to Puerto Rico, thinking that they were gonna bring changes, and that was glorious. That was glorious aim, to go to Puerto Rico, change everything all of a sudden. It's just like gangsters, man. You go to Puerto Rico, man, you're gonna change something.
Hey, Che.
Yeah.
Che. You know what that sounds like to me? What they tried doing, what Gloria Fontanez tried doing. You know what that sounds to me? It sounds like folkwism to me. That's what it sounds like, man. That's what it sounds like. The idea,
Want to know the truth?
the idea of a small group of people causing societal change. That's folkwism right there, man. That's really folkwism.
That's what it was. If you want to know the truth, like, did they really thought that was going to work?
No, of course it wasn't. And once again, they started to adapt a more commandist outlook on the masses. They start to see themselves as knowing, as Johanna said here, the YLP start to see themselves as quote unquote knowing best for the masses, like helicopter parents. They start to know they start to feel that they knew what was best for the masses instead of actually talking to the masses and connecting with the masses and struggling alongside the masses to see what was actually best for them. That's what they should have done. And the same way, and the same thing that they were doing in New York, that's what they did in Puerto Rico. They didn't connect with the masses of Puerto Rico. They didn't see what the materialistic conditions were. They didn't actually try to implement Marxism within Puerto Rico. They just thought that they would just lead the revolution there without actually connecting and struggling alongside the masses and adapting their ideological and political line to the materialistic conditions of Puerto Rico. It was commandist, it was idealist, it was revisionist.
Like they didn't, like, you didn't go to Ponce, you didn't go to Aguadilla, you didn't go to San Juan, you didn't go into the towns on the island and connect with the people. Like, you didn't do that. And also learning Spanish, because I was literally like almost everybody was speaking on the island, and the whole thing that they tried to do, especially with the white petty bourgeois elements of the Nationalist Party of Puerto Rico, even though they did make one thing right, that the Afro-Naino lumpen proletariat was the real leaders of the struggle, it was a complete misfire. It was a complete misfire because they tried to be all supermen and superwomen and try to move their entire operation to their homeland, not understanding what the hell they were doing. Like it was literally a bomb. Literally, it was like it just imploded in front of everyone. And you know, the thing with them understanding their African and Taino identity, you know, that wasn't even in the framework of many of those people on the island back then. It wasn't even in their minds like that. That was the big misfire that they also made. Identity-wise, that was not even in their mind back then. It may have come a long way, but that wasn't in their mind. It wasn't in anyone's mind on the island back then. Anyone that was not part of the conservative, white wing, petty bourgeois on the island, it wasn't in anyone's mind, and they did not put that into account.
You know, I just want to say, as chairman of the Young Laws Party within the prison system, New York State prison system, you know, I refuse to change the name. We would still remain the Young Laws. We even had classes in the yard, you know, each prison was see, when I say chairman, because I was chairman of all the prisons in New York State, but we all stayed connected. We all knew what each other was doing, you know, so we was always we never had no problems as the Young Laws had in the outside. You know, we remain Young Laws. We refuse to change our name. And, you know, and we even had a political class, you know, we call it PE in the yard, you know, to talk about the young laws in the streets who decided to go to PR. Many of us felt, man, that was wrong. It was totally wrong, you know.
Yeah.
Brother Che, I wanted to bring up on that also. After learning her involvement of being married to an FBI agent and her dictatorship, what was her whole role in going to Puerto Rico? Was it going because we already seen the mess she had created here in the States? What was her intentions, her true intentions on even going to Puerto Rico? And
that's what I know too.
Well, you know something. You're gonna have to ask Gloria. Not Gloria. Oh God.
Johanna.
Oh shit! She can't keep saying that, man. She probably killed me. Joanna, you're gonna have to ask Joanna, because you know us in the Young Laws, man, in prison, man, we sort of like we shied away from the Young Laws in the streets. You know, with so much bullshit and so much bad reputation. We shied away from that, man. We remain Young Laws, yes, and we adhere to the Young Laws, to the principles of Young Laws, because our principles were our aim was to be a socialist, and one of our aims was the independence of Puerto Rico. But the independence of Puerto Rico doesn't come along as fast as they wanted to it. You know, Don Pedro Arizo Campo was a good example, man. He tried hard, you know, and he was put in jail for 25 years, and then they killed him. You know, so Puerto Rico has a long history of resistance and struggles. You know, but there's a certain, you know, Puerto Rico and Mexico, let's say, a Puerto Rican go to Mexico trying to change, trying to talk about, Viva Mexico, you know, I mean, come on, man, that's crazy.
Come on.
I don't know, Chet, if you could touch up on, because I've been noticing in the last year or two, since I've been getting involved, so the Young Lords are still active over in Puerto Rico, and they're still doing things out there.
See, that's the new Young Laws. That's the new Young Laws.
They are Young Lords.
Yeah, the new. Go ahead.
No. Or enlighten me, because I would like to know. And so the Young Lords, where you say you hold the young lords, and then the New Young lords, how do they collate with one another, or how do they work together, or it's two different things?
You talk about the young laws in prison or the young laws in the streets?
No. I know you, the ones you know from the prison, and we're talking about what they're doing now today.
Oh, that's the new era of young laws. That's the new era of young laws. Yeah, they're doing a lot of good stuff, man. But you know, they're not trying to do what the young laws did. They are
Right.
what they're doing is they're providing, you know, they're doing like what the Panthers and the Young Lost used to do, breakfast programs and that kind of stuff. That's what they're doing out there in Puerto Rico. Because you gotta start very little, man. We're very things that people relate to, man. You can't go over there, man, with an ideology that people don't understand nothing about. You gotta go over there, man. If somebody, I go over there, let's say, for instance, and I see somebody walking down the street, man, and is homeless. What am I gonna try to do? I'm gonna try to help that person. You see, and that's what they do. As an example, that's what they're doing. You
It's
know,
a process.
yeah,
It's a process.
they're doing some basic stuff, man, touching basic stuff, you know, and they're doing good work over there in Puerto Rico. Subi is the chairman. Subi is the chairman, and he's doing a lot of good work over there in Puerto Rico. As a matter of fact, he just came back.
Yeah.
Not to cut you off, hermano. So that means the young lords of your day and time are in agreement of what Subitoro and the new.
The young laws now are not the same as the young laws before. You see what I'm saying? I think they moved away from various strategies and doctrines and all that other ideologies that the old young laws advocated. You know, the young laws today are sort of like a different type of young laws with different types of methods and different types of practices, you know, and involvement with the masses of people in Puerto Rico, as an example. You know, and they also do work with the Nationalist Party in Puerto Rico also. So that's very good, man, because the Nationalist Party has been there from the very beginning, man, since the 20s, you know. So yeah, it's a different type of young laws, Joe. It's not the same people. Not well. They don't. I don't think that you could tell Subi, man, that he's part of the young laws of the old. I don't think you could tell him that. You know, no. But he's a hardworking man. He is. He's a hardworking man.
Yeah,
right on.
And I hear sometimes too. There's little problems in there. I don't want to mention it since we're on a live recording and stuff like that. But like just in all our organizations, let's keep our circles small and tight and stuff. Let's keep our grass cut so we can see the snakes in the yard. And we can all use a little tightening up, you know, once in a while. And that's all.
Yeah. Right on.
Right on.
But oh yeah, man. With what you were saying, Comrade Che, the new young lords of today learned from the mistakes that the original young lords make and are trying to actually and are adapting what worked, what didn't, what's applicable, what isn't, and how to move class struggle forward and radicalize and meet the masses where they're at, you know, because things change. The materials and conditions of the young lords back then, it's not going to be the same as they are right now. How they did stuff back then, it's not going to be the same as how we do stuff back then. How they engage in survival programs is not going to be the same as how we engage in survival programs today. It's all going to be different, you know? The principles are the same.
Ali says is part of the young laws, isn't she?
Who?
Ali was
Alyssa.
Yeah, Alyssa.
Yeah, Alyssa. I think she may be. I'm not sure. I'd have to.
I was told she was.
Yeah, I think she is. I believe she most likely is. Yeah, I believe Alyssa is part of the new era young lords. I think.
I am.
Oh, well, you are?
Yeah, I'm a young lord. And we got MOE on
Yo,
here too.
let's
Yeah.
go. Let's go. Well, let's go. Yo, well. I want to hear what you have to say, man. You thought I was gonna leave you out?
Come on, Will. Come on, Will. I
Come
have
on, Will. Come
you
on,
to
Will.
come on,
No,
say something.
I definitely agree that trying to leave out the ideological things, because I feel like those things are definitely like counter-revolutionary. They also throw a lot of different dynamics in the mix that really don't help us liberate anybody. And I also like the points that were made earlier about how, like, when you do work with new people, it's important to create that rapport first by doing like small things, like maybe, learning the language to be able to speak with them, or doing little programs to aid in the revolutionaries that are already on the island and just expanding their political understanding.
Yes.
Right on, right on. And to add to what you were saying, Will, and I mentioned this a couple of times before, but as the young lords were transitioning away from survival programs, and as they were transitioning more to a commandist, adventuristic form of trying to quote unquote radicalize the masses, someone within the central committee said that a vanguard party is supposed to meet the people's political needs and not just the quote unquote effects of capitalism. And to that I say, if you want to meet the political and ideological needs of the people, if you want them to adopt a correct ideological and political line, you first have to meet them where they're at materially and psychologically. You can't just expect people to just follow in on Marxism and adapt terms and phrases they've
That's why
never they, they've
basic
never
course.
known before. You can't just
That's why
expect people to do that. You have to meet them where they're at. You have to meet them where they're at psychologically and materially. You have to provide for their materialistic needs and look at what works, what doesn't, and how to apply the principles of dialectical materialism within the unique needs of the community. You have to investigate. You have to see what the community needs. If you want the masses to have a correct ideological and political line, you must first show them that you give a fuck about them. You have to show that you actually care about their needs. You have to show them why socialism is for them. Because socialism is the people. If they don't know that, then they're not going to fight for socialism. Simple as that. You have to show them how socialism is for them. You have to show them how it benefits them. You have to show them why they should be fighting for this. And you do that through mass line, through cultural revolution, and through survival programs to educate them, to show them how things can be better. That's how you do things. So
that's
yeah,
that's why we have basic course books for Marxism, Leninism. Now
exactly. And Maoism.
we have basic course.
Yep. The basic course by Jose Maria Sison. He's fucking base. That's how I love it. Also, Moo. I see they have your hand raised.
What's up, y'all? Yeah, I just wanted to jump in on some points. I haven't met y'all yet. What's good, everybody? My name's Comrade Mo. I'm the Minister of Education for the New Era Young Lords of Chicago.
Oh my
Um,
god, that's
yeah,
awesome! Yo, let's go.
Thank you for joining in today. Thank you.
100%. Thank y'all for having me. I've been really enjoying listening to the conversation and what everyone has to say. I just wanted to jump on some of those points that were said a second ago. Just like agreeing that the New Era Young Lords in Chicago are in the midst of like discovering a current political moment and the particularities to our time. While still like agreeing with Comrade said, like staying true to the principles of what it means to be anti-capitalist, anti-colonial, and really bringing that scientific approach. I just wanted
Right
to like
on.
agree with y'all. Appreciate y'all.
No, right on, right on, and that's how we gotta do. We have to show because once again, due to the demonization and due to the demonization of phrases like communism and things like that, due to McCarthyism, we have to slowly radicalize the masses and show them what it means to be a socialist without saying those terms. We have to engage with them in observation and participation. Because if the masses see that these things are working, if they see that there's a possibility for better, if they see how these revolutionary activities and organizational structures are actually working, then they'll do them as well. Then they will engage in those same organizational structures. Then they will adopt the ideological and political line of the vanguard party. The best way for them to learn is to see through their own eyes, to see things and engage with them. That's the best way that anyone learns in general. Human beings learn best through observation and then doing it alongside others. So 100%, Comrade Mel, 100%.
You build trust.
And build
first.
trust.
Build trust
That's
first.
what you gotta do.
Go to the next stage.
Participation.
Yes.
Yep. Yes, Comrade Jay?
Yeah, I just want to read something very briefly to everybody.
Sure,
and
go ahead.
It's written by Eugene Debs.
Oh, hell yeah. Hell yeah.
The earth for all the people. That is our demand. The machinery of production and distribution for all the people. That is our demand. The collective ownership and control of industry and its democratic management in the interest of the people. That is our demand. The elimination of rent, interest, and profit, and the production of wealth to satisfy the wants of all the people. That is our demand. The end of class rule, of master and slave, of ignorance and vice, of poverty and shame, of cruelty and crime. That is our demand. And that's what we're fighting for. Very simple stuff, man. That's what we're fighting for.
That's what we're fighting for. 100%. That's what we're fighting for. We need to start showing people that revolution is not bad. We're not gonna steal your toothbrush. We're not gonna come at night and steal your toothbrush and steal your car and steal your house. No, that's not what it means to be a revolutionary.
But we're gonna take your farm if you own it.
Yes. Oh my God. Like once again, people need to understand that there's a difference between personal property and private property. Private property is when you own the means of production. Private property is when you own the means of production to be used for your own self-benefit. Does your car make capital? Does your toothbrush make capital? Does your lawnmower make capital? No, that's not private property. It's personal property.
Not even a house.
Exactly. Not even a house. Not even a house is private property.
Not a door, not a roll of camera film. Okay, like, come on.
Not a candy bar. Yo. Nah. Imagine if they actually started fucking saying that. Like, no, like I would not be surprised if some anti-communist was saying some shit like communism is when people see your tamales or some fucking shit like that.
Which is really not what communism actually is, because once again, I'll break this down again. Communism literally means by or of the community.
Literally.
It means the people.
Commune.
That's it. There's nothing less nothing. It's literally the community equally. That's what it means.
Exactly. Also, Comrade Joe. I'm sorry. I was gonna say, Comrade Joe, you had your hand up?
Yes, I wanted to go to the point of a lot of things that the indigenous brothers and sisters are fighting for is land back.
Right on.
Also with the Chicanos, we're getting our land grants back because that it was succeeded by Mexico, and Mexico was succeeded by the United States, and so forth and so on. And then we go into our new African Black brothers and sisters, where they want to take 5 states in the South for themselves and have their own nation. So I think that I wanted to point that out. Is just when we're fighting back and we're fighting to get things back, not a toothbrush or not anything like that, but just land.
Yeah.
That's where the power is, and
Our
because the
destiny.
land belongs to those that work the land, and we don't see those bourgeoisie motherfuckers out there working, toiling the soil. No, it's our backs that get worn out. It's our backs that created a lot of the things across the nation, within our different across Turtle Island, within their different nations and stuff. And also our black brothers and sisters also have a key part in that, because they were brought here for that, and they don't have no place to really call home. So like, I think they're calling it like a new Africa or something like that. And I kind of side with them on the basis of they should have some place to have their own nation here in the United States. But they're another backbone to this United Snakes of America. That's all.
Right on.
Right on. Like I said before, decolonization here in the U.S. will involve the entire eradication and purging of the so-called United Snakes, of the so-called settler colonial white concept of the U.S. And every single colonized person here after decolonization will have their own dictatorship of the proletariat. They'll have their own socialist state. And like I said before, when decolonization fully takes place here in the U.S., it'll be something similar to the Soviet Union, where each colonized people have their own socialist republic in a union. I believe that's how it'll most likely turn out.
Yeah, that's kind of the point I was trying to make, and thank you for clarifying that, because of course, through distance and time and different time zones, Turtle Island is big. But we have to recognize that first and foremost, all indigenous people, and then even when our new African brothers and sisters want to make 5 states in the South, there will be in consideration of the indigenous peoples there also. So that's I thought that would be like a positive thing.
Yeah.
Happen, and I believe in that. I really agree with that, because if we did have a revolution, and when we're preparing to do and what's going to happen, we can't control and domain everything, but if we stay collectively working together, then, or like as we do now, staying connected, but acquire more and more people to think the same way, it really could happen. And then we could all work and collate with one another, and like, man, we would be strong. We're strong already, but we would even be stronger. That's all.
Stronger.
Comrade Che, you had your hand raised?
Yeah, I want to say that, the 5 states that people talk about, that sounds good, but I'm gonna tell you something. It's not gonna work under capitalism. The capitalists will not allow that to happen whatsoever.
Exactly.
It may happen after we take over. After we take over, in the earlier beginnings, man, because we got to understand commune. It means common. Everything is commonly owned by everybody. I think that people start changing their concepts once we begin developing our own society, and people will start changing their concept, because 5 states, there's reasons for those 5 states. They want 5 states for that. There's reasons for that. But I don't think it's gonna work, man, because the capital state would not allow it.
Won't. That's why we
won't
think about it. That's why we think about it.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I was just going to sorry. Were you gonna say something, Shanti?
that's why we need to be strategic about it. That's why we went beyond the 5 states, from the very beginning, because in the very beginning, it was about just those 5 states, because that's where the highest concentration in terms of the percentage of African people are at, and even still are. There's still a relatively large percentage of African people within that territory, including East Texas, Southern Arkansas, West Tennessee, which is including Memphis, North Florida, and Eastern North Carolina. So, like, there's still a pretty large concentration of African people there. But, through the years, we have changed our strategy beyond just, 5 states, because you have to understand these are, colonialists carved out smaller states. So we have to, there's a lot of African people, up north and over west now too. And that's what we need to keep in mind for today, is that, our strategy is not the same from 1968 when it all began. It has changed a lot. That's why we have expanded way beyond just, the 5 states to including our homeland of Al-Kibalan, of Africa, because we understand that even under a capitalist system, we have to think realistic how we're going to pull it off, including, ASEAN, including North Africa, and other people's republics, our destiny. So that is what we have to keep in mind as well, is that the same strategy, the strategies that we've used, the plans that we have put in place 50 years ago is not the same for today. Like, it's way different now. So we have to really adapt with the times and adapt our strategy, because if we don't, then if they stayed in the past, it would not have went beyond just those 5 states.
Exactly. Exactly. And Kwame and me talked about this as well, where the 5 states were a correct analysis for the time. For the
Right.
time, that was a correct analysis. For the time, it made sense. But like you said, Comrade Shanti, a lot of new African people don't just reside in those 5 states anymore. They've gone across all over the United States. So
Exactly.
how New Africa will look like, how the nation that represents New African people will look like, will be larger than those 5 states. It won't be the exact same. It won't be just self-contained within those 5 states. It will look different than it was back then.
Exactly.
Way different than was back then. And like what Comrade Che was saying, you cannot have liberation within capitalism. You cannot have liberation within capitalism. You cannot have your own dictatorship of the proletariat within capitalism. The only way to have it is through decolonization. You cannot integrate within the capitalist society, but you can also not separate from it. You have to destroy it. You have to uproot it and replace it with a new society, a new socioeconomic system, a new superstructure through decolonization.
Right.
Because a lot of people don't realize that after revolution happens in the U.S., everything will be different, and the U.S. will no longer be the U.S. It will no longer be called "quote unquote" America. Everything will be different. Everything will change. It won't be the same anymore. The only way is through decolonization. The only way is through uprooting and replacing the system with a socialist one. And that's the only way we're ever going to get liberation That's the only way we're ever going to get liberation for everyone. So yeah.
Right on.
You want to say something? Sorry, you want to say something, Comrade Joe?
I was going to mention we have Comrade Will, and I had his name in my mind right now, but
Mo?
Will, Mo, or Sister Siavi.
Oh no, Comrade Rich left. Damn. I wanted to ask him to speak up. Damn, he just left.
If we can get a little input from them and be
Yeah.
inclusive to the to get a little feedback from them, since they don't normally, well, I haven't normally seen them on, but I would like to hear from them if they have any words to share.
Please, please.
Putting nobody on blast.
Yes, please. I want to hear y'all.
Please. Comrade Mo, you have your hand up?
Yeah, I just wanted to agree with y'all again, comrades. I was gonna say this reminds me of something that I had heard regarding science, basically saying that old theories, once they're disproven, people don't like wish for the old theories to live alongside the new. Like the newest science is what we go by. And Comrade Che Guevara says, revolution and war respond to a science, and those who ignore the science and the latest science are damned to failure.
Yep.
Exactly.
Beautifully said, Comrade Mo. Throughout history, throughout existence itself, it's always the same. The new replaces the old. That's how it's always been. Always moving forward, always changing, always evolving, adapting. That's what we have to do for our movement. That's what we have to do. And I actually want to quote Charles Darwin himself with this. And it's one of my favorite quotes from him. It is not the strongest of the species that survives, nor the most intelligent that survives. It is the one that is the most adaptable to change, that lives within the means available, and works cooperatively against common threats. That's what we have to do. That's what our movements have to do. Live within the means, adapt, and fight against common threats, the forces of reaction, revisionism, the consciousness of capitalism, the bourgeois, everything that threatens life itself on Earth. That's what we have to fight against,
Yep.
That's what we gotta do. And yeah, if we have to constantly adapt how we apply these principles, how we apply Marxism, Leninism, and Maoism within our current material conditions, and to go back to the YLP, that's something that they didn't do because they had a misguided analysis of what Maoism even is. They didn't know what the fuck Maoism was. They had no idea what actually fucking was. And it shows in the YLP's rejection of the criticisms that their Chinese comrades gave them when they went to China alongside Huey and the Black Panthers. They rejected their criticisms. They were completely against them. They did not adhere to the criticisms that their Chinese comrades gave them, and that was just a stark sign of their revisionism. The fact that they didn't understand Maoism, that they had a misguided, twisted, distorted, and warped sense of what dialectical materialism actually was. The rejection of the lumpen, them trying to lead a commandist, focalist movement in Puerto Rico. Them using democratic centralism to shoot down any criticisms, regardless if they were genuine or not, and so on and so forth.
Exactly. And I want to bring this up too, with the self-critique stuff. This is a fucking non-negotiable with every revolutionary. You don't get to not self-critique. You don't get that right. You have to self-critique, because if you don't, then you're going to be stagnant and you're going to continue to be isolated in, old thought that is going to fester, and once again it's going to fall apart. Like, you don't get the right to not self-critique. That is a non-negotiable, and that's what they did not do. They didn't understand. I don't think they actually even read the book.
They didn't. I don't even think they did. When they were doing their glorified book clubs, they didn't even include the right book in them.
Right, like it's a process. You have to use the right texts in order to meet the people, you know, where they're at and build up on top of that. Like, you know, you cannot have a, you know, book club in the sense of, you know, in the context of the YLP without the Red Book. You cannot do a revolutionary book club in your organization without the Red Book. You can't. You can't.
It's impossible.
And it's impossible because the Red Book is a foundation. It is a foundation, a very principled foundation on how to be for the people and by the people and of the people, of the masses. And that is what they did not do. Plus, you know, their where they sat on the class brackets, you know, being college students, you know, and not, you know, lumpins, you know, they, you know, that whole classist structure and that capitalist structure that they had, it fell apart. It fell apart, and them splitting from the Young Lords organization from Cha-Cha, splitting from Cha-Cha was a big fucking mistake. As I mean, we clearly see the result of that. You know, they were just not able to be principled in the right way. And that is why I bring this fact up again. You do not get the right to say, to not self-critique. If you don't do self-critique, you will stay reactionary or become even more reactionary, and you're not going to know what the hell you're doing.
You're going to stay the same. That's going to happen.
You're going to stay the same, and, you know, everyone is, you're going to start seeing everyone as, you know, enemies, like, you know, like they're monsters. Like, please don't end up like Gloria, because if you don't have critique, you're going to end up like Gloria, and we do not need a Gloria. Okay.
We really don't. We really don't. The last thing we need is more Glorias. Please do not be like her. Please.
You don't want 8 people being tortured, okay?
Yes, please. We don't want people who have disagreements to be made hostages. Could you imagine? Could you fucking imagine if the new African Black Panther Party did that shit? Could you imagine if they did that? Like, hell no.
Like,
hell no.
No. We're steering far away from that. This is not 1972 anymore. So
yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. I don't know how to pronounce your first name. Sorry, comrade. Savai Stevens, and then Mo. So yeah.
Okay, so I agree with everything that you guys were saying. I was thinking in my mind like this, it's so important for me to be here and for others because it's representation from each revolutionary group is important. And I'm on a lot of groups and chats where it's just Chicanos, and it's cool because we're all like-minded, we all vibe. And then on this chat, I was like really impressed because it's the same thing. We all are on the same book, you know, or are on the same level, and that's refreshing for me. I do agree about the Iron Fist type. An example is, and I don't want to put any brown berets down, like it's not that, but I've seen the Iron Fist thing, and then I've seen the repercussions that have come of it. They get blacklisted. They don't get trusted anymore when they are turn it into when they get culty, you know. And
right.
So yeah, it just leads to people's downfall every time. So every, like they say, they all have their day. So yeah, it's not good in the movement to have that. I think it's important for it to constantly change and evolve, for new like rules to be put in place, like when times change and beliefs change, like how people should be asking who's people's gender before conversations and stuff like that. I think, and that's starting to be be more important in Rasa Onida and the Brown Berets right now. So it's just something that is new, and people are adapting to it. And so yeah, I really like this to be and me, I represent natives too. Well, Chicanos are natives, but
yeah,
some people get confused by the northern and the southern tribes. I'm from the northern tribe and the southern tribe. So I'm half Paiute, so it's good. I feel like it was good for me to be here.
Right on.
Right on. Comrade Mel?
I just wanted to share a little story with y'all recently, kind of like talking about just like the need for those core principles and the ways that not having those core principles will affect the organization. Had a conversation with Chacha recently, and in the spirit of self-criticism, Chacha was like making a joke about how when they went to China, um, he was like, us and a bunch of young lords were like, we want to meet Chairman Mao. And he was like, didn't that just sound like the most American thing ever? Just like going to another country and demanding to meet like, the chairman over there.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just wanted to share that with y'all. I thought that was a little funny because kind of like speaking to what y'all are talking about. And also like I heard like I'm not sure like about New York, but like jumping off Comrade Shantae's point too, the politic in Chicago was really important. Even Comrade Chairman Cha was recommending the Little Red Book.
Yeah.
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 It's essential.
Like
It's
that's
essential.
literally essential. That was what the Illinois chapter of the Black Panther Party was doing. That was what the original Young Lords organization was doing. That was what Cha-Cha was doing. That was what Fred was doing. Like they did not build off of what we were doing. They just decided, like they just got real hot-headed. They got real hot-headed, and they wanted to break away and do their own thing, like that hyper independence that we see a lot from these groups, especially today, that hyper independence of wanting to, worry about, our own struggle and not be a part of anyone else's, like that is a big problem. That is a big problem. Like them splitting from Cha-Cha was a big mistake because once again, those class distinctions grew very, 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 very strong with that. The YLO versus, the YLP, the college students, the so-called middle class, revolutionaries versus the lumpen base of Chicago. Like they just wouldn't budge. The so-called YLP wouldn't budge. And they thought that breaking away from Cha-Cha was going to do them any good, but it made them more dictatorial, and it made them more dogmatic, and it even made them more isolated from even giving the lumpens an equal say-so, just like the rest of the so-called party. So, yeah.
Exactly. The first duty of any revolutionary, before you do anything else, before you engage in organizing, before you engage in class agitation, before you do anything, the first duty of any revolutionary is to self-criticize and self-educate. That's the first thing. That's the first thing that you have to do. For how are you going to lead and elevate and educate people if you yourself are not educated, and if you yourself are not educated and don't know what their struggle is, if you don't know what their material conditions are, if you don't know why they're fighting, why they should fight, you have to educate yourself on the materials and conditions of today. You have to educate yourself on the needs of your community and of other communities, and then struggle alongside them through praxis. That accumulation of knowledge to eventually gain conceptual knowledge of the essence of things, of the intermachinations of how society and contradictions play a role in everything. That's what you have to do. If you don't do that, then you're never going to radicalize or elevate anyone. Imagine a teacher trying to teach a subject that he's not educated on, which is basically just a modern day education system. Like
it's literally that, the slave factory.
Literally, okay. It's literally that. Imagine trying to educate someone that you're not, that not only are you not educated on, But imagine trying to educate someone that doesn't have a reason to listen to you. Why should they listen to you when you haven't shown them why they should respect you, why they should listen to you, why they should struggle alongside you? That's why you have to build that connection with people. That's why you have to build that connection, that solidarity with your community and the masses. Show them that you give a fuck about them. Show them that the vanguard party is for them, because the masses are the vanguard. The vanguard party is a party of the vanguard. The vanguard is the masses. They are the ones that are leading things. The vanguard party and the masses are one the same. They're the same.
Revolution 101.
101. Revolution 101. Cameron, no, did you have your hand up again, or did you just still have it up from before?
I still had it up from before, my bad.
It's fine, don't worry.
You're good. You're good. You're good. You're good, Comrade.
Did Comrade Will want to have any final?
Come on, Will. All right. Wait. I forgot. I'm so sorry. Will. Che had his hand up before. He raised his hand, but he didn't have the little indication. Sorry.
It's all good.
That's okay. That's okay, man. We, as long as we know that we are not perfect, we're going somewhere.
Right on. Yeah, we don't want to be perfect. We want to be better.
If you think you perfect like Gloria did, then we ain't gonna go. But if you know, you say I'm not perfect, you going some goddamn way.
Exactly.
Listen, I just wanted to say this. I hope that all of us are able to attend Sunday at 7 o'clock. It's going to be the panel. And I request that we all, since today was emphasized, Gloria was emphasized in various ways. We need to be in unity and address to the people that are coming, where the hell is she?
Oh yeah.
Where is she?
I want to know where she is. Where is Gloria?
Where the fuck is Gloria?
We're having a few for her. Where is Gloria?
Where is she?
That's
Is
like
she
finding
involved with
Waldo.
some other organization trying to do some bullshit?
Honestly, I would not be surprised if Gloria Fontanez joined the fucking Republican or Democrat Party. I would not be surprised if she did that shit.
I would not be surprised either, including the Libertarian Party.
Could you imagine if Gloria just straight up joined the FBI? Could you imagine that shit? She just straight up joined the FBI, like fuck it.
I can imagine it. She would fit in perfectly with them. She would fit in.
Yeah, she would.
Perfectly with them.
That's what I would like for everybody to address. What do they? How's their feelings about Gloria? To see what they got to say.
Oh, I already know they're all just gonna start shitting on her. I already know that they're gonna. I already know what they're gonna say. I already know what they're gonna say, man.
We already know they're gonna say the same thing. So
yep.
So we nominate Gabby to bring that question up.
I mean, hey, if y'all want me to bring that question up, then I'll gladly bring it up, because I'm curious too. Because like, to be honest, I just assumed that Gloria died. Like, that's why I assumed that Gloria Fontanez died after this. That's what I thought.
I find that really interesting. Like, sometimes, like, we feel like these things are so, like, historically long ago, but it's really not that long ago. A lot of these people are
exactly.
alive.
Yeah.
I think that's really interesting. Also, just like comments on like other things that have been said. I feel like it's really important, like, as a revolutionary, to also like revolutionarily critically criticize yourself, as well as the things that you do and like the society around you and like the social. Yeah, because how are you gonna be revolutionary if you're not authentically, genuinely like being conscious of all things that you want to affect?
And the best way to engage in criticism and self-criticism, Comrade Will, is by putting in that analysis in your life, through your actions, through your behavior, through your analysis, understanding of the world, through praxis. Theory and practice. Apply that analysis to your materialistic conditions in everyday life. That's
Yeah.
what we learned.
I definitely agree with that. That practice is important. I feel like, especially like a lot of people have like really great politics, but your politics should bleed over into how you treat the world. I mean, that only makes sense.
Exactly. To quote Chairman Fred Hampton, theory is cool, but theory without practice ain't shit.
And that's the truth. That's the truth. Because if you don't put it into the right kind of practice, and not only put it in the right kind of practice, but adapt it to the changing times, as long as we're under this system, then you're going to be nothing more than a bookshelf.
Yep.
That's what Ho Chi Minh said, right?
You're gonna be an armchair. You're gonna be an armchair revolutionary. That's what you're gonna be.
Right.
Comrade Shay, you want to say something?
Yeah, I just want to say, as long as we understand the basic principles of dialectics, which means change.
Exactly. Yes. Everything's changing.
Everything changes. So if everything is changing, and we are in a certain position in life, then we need to we need to look inside of us and see what needs to be changed in order to move forward.
We cannot stay in
We can't.
You know, if the Young Laws Party would have done the policies of criticism and self-criticism, if they would have done that politically and the way it should have been done, they would have never died the way they did. You know, yeah. But they didn't do it. You know, and as a result of no criticism, because you got to criticize this. Even the perfect person is always criticizing himself. You know.
Yeah.
You know, in order to move. Life is change, man. We got to look at life is not but change, and we have to fit in with this change. And if for us to fit in, we have to change just as well. Because remember, if we striving for socialism, we striving for a new person in life.
Exactly, a new humanity. That's what we want.
Exactly. And that's what we need to do. We cannot stay in autopilot, because right now, collectively, overall, we're in autopilot. Like, we don't know what the hell we're doing, and we think that we can go to these ballots and think we're making change. We literally had 160,000 people be doxxed by the city of Atlanta for, the petitions. We went from militancy to petitions, and it still didn't work. That's why we changed our strategy. That's why we need to change our strategy. It cannot stay in one place for after a certain period of time. Like November is way different from now, and they're ramping up. They have nothing to lose, so we have to change our strategy. But clearly, those people didn't know. Those people didn't know any better, and it ended up with thousands of people being doxxed by their own city.
Like, imagine that. Like, imagine being doxxed by your own fucking city, bro. Like, goddamn.
But that's how Atlanta works. The so-called Black Mecca, pushing out African lumpins, gentrifying the whole damn neighborhood, pushing up these numbers and decimals that the African lumpins of the main Atlanta area do not have. Literally making Standing Peachtree, which is the original name for what is now Atlanta, making Standing Peachtree into a fascist playground, essentially. Cutting down native trees, cutting down native land, native ecology, because it's eco-warfare too. Because, we need those trees. We need those trees in order to breathe, to be able to have our bodies in sync with, the weather and stuff. And the fact that the strategy has been completely co-opted and changed from its original militant purpose to now signatures. and it's ended up still not working out, and it ended up with being doxxed, a mass doxing. That's a shame. That's really a shame. That's why
That's sad.
Strategy. Our strategy needs to change, because we'll end up like that again, and we'll end up like what happened with the uprisings again. We'll just end up in the same spot and thinking that we're making progress and lying to ourselves. We need to stop lying to ourselves, because we know that our strategies are bullshit.
Exactly.
But we don't want to confront it. We're too afraid. We're still in pilot mode. We don't want to change too much, or else we will, face repression for it. We're already facing repression either way. It doesn't matter how nice you are, they're still gonna dox you. That's not gonna change. And like with the election coming up next year, like I have no faith. I don't even care. I don't care about no damn election. I don't care. I only care about the liberation of my people, us as a collective, and not having it be so isolated from each other, because it's not that time. It never been that time, and clearly that strategy never worked. So, like, we need to really get back into reality and change our strategy, because this is not working. This is not working, and y'all know it's not working. You knew that the whole signature thing was not going to work, but y'all didn't care, because y'all take anything to, feel some kind of progress, but it ended up blowing up in y'all asses, and now you're doxxed by the city of Atlanta. So, yeah,
it's sad.
We need to change. We need to change. We need to get our shit together, and we need to change.
We do.
Because this is not helpful. It's not.
It's not. It's not. And to go back to the YLP, the best way to summarize, in my opinion, the decay of the YLP is that they went from being movement people to moment people. That's what happened. They stopped organizing and started just living in the moment. They cared more about the moments than they actually cared about organizing their people. And a prime example of this was them trying to lead the revolution and lead liberation for their people in Puerto Rico. Now was them going to Puerto Rico to try and radicalize their people, was that good? Obviously. But their intentions and their methods were idealistic, unscientific, and based in great man theory, based in Foucaultism. They didn't want organized. They wanted to mobilize. They wanted a moment. That's what they wanted.
Yeah, exactly. And I didn't even know that the YLP changed their name.
Yeah, they did. They changed it to.
Wait, what was that? What did you just say? What did you just say? You said something that I thought was like really deep. You said they went from a something movement to
they went from a movement people to a moment people. Is what I said. Because that's true. That's what happened. They went from being a movement to being a moment, and them transitioning to a more commandist, Foucaultistic form of strategy shows it. Because once again, Foucaultism, for y'all who don't know, Foucaultism is based on great man theory. It is the idea that a small group of people and a quote unquote enlightened people can cause societal change. That's basically what Foucaultism is.
If you don't mind, could you say it one more time?
Or what?
Can you say it one more time if you don't mind?
The thing that I said before, or like, they went from being a movement people to a moment people.
Type that in a group chat. That's so deep. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah, of course.
No problem, man. Of course. Comrade Joe, I see they have your hand up.
Yeah, I wanted to touch back on.
Your voice sounds low. Your voice sounds like it's very far away.
I'm right here. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. It's just like your voice sounds muffled, but we can hear you.
Okay, well, let me bring it closer. Comrade Shanti had mentioned something earlier about being stagnant, and I refer to that, and I bring it into picture with it's like a river. We have to keep on flowing. We have to keep on moving in our movements, because once a water gets um, blocked up by hurdles and obstacles and stuff like that, then you end up becoming like a cesspool, like you mentioned, or like she mentioned. Then we become like diseased. The algae starts to create, mosquitoes start to come about because the water is not free flowing and it's not even drinkable. But even in our movements, we have to keep on free flowing and be cautious not to get stagnated with things in life, and keep on pushing forward. And that's pretty much what I wanted to share. That's all.
Right
Thank you.
on. That's exactly what we gotta
Done.
do. Another analogy that I'd say as well is praxis is like the knife, and theory is the whetstone. Praxis changes theory, and theory sharpens praxis. If you are using a knife, right? If you're using a knife for everyday activities, you have to resharpen it. You have to resharpen it to make the blade sharp, so that way you can do what you have to do. But sometimes you may need a different whetstone, because you're going to need a different whetstone to sharpen the knife in the way to best serve what you're doing. You have to constantly resharpen your knife in order to keep it sharp, in order to keep it sharp and keep it efficient. That's what we have to do. And us engaging in praxis, we have to change our theory, how we adapt it, how we implement it within our materialistic conditions, how we expand upon it, how we learn from our mistakes, how we engage in criticism and self criticism. If we can do that, if we can resharpen that knife and keep it sharp through observation, participation, through analysis and practice, then our revolution will stay sharp like the edge of a knife. So yeah.
Exactly.
Yes, Comrade Jay?
Yeah, I just want to say philosophically, we have to be like our bodies. Our bodies are always and forever changing. When we was a baby, let's say, as an example,
Yeah.
and we started growing, we started changing, because the body of a baby is not the same body that they have as they grow. It's different. So now today, we carry another body that is different from the body we had before. So that's philosophically, it's what I talk about. Change. We got to forever, just like day and night. It changes. Yesterday wasn't the same as today, and today's not going to be the same as tomorrow. So
Wait.
that's life, man. Life is change.
Life is growth, decay, then transformation. That's what it is, man. That's what it is.
A revelation. Because we need revelations. We need to have those revelations in order to, transform. We need revelations for real.
That's what we do. That's what we need. We need to live in the movement and stop, and we need to engage in the movement and stop living in the moment. That's what we have to do. We have to, because once again, mobilizing is only the start. Mobilizing is only the start. You can mobilize someone, but he organize. So because once again, the difference is that one, like the name implies, is in the moment. It is temporary. But an organized struggle is a protracted struggle. It is protracted. It takes time. It takes patience. It takes diligence. It will not happen overnight. When we achieve liberation, when we achieve self-determination, it will take years. It'll take a while before we achieve that. Any form of organized struggle is a protracted struggle. If you're not engaging in a protracted war, they're not engaging in an organized war. Simple as that. Comrade Joe?
Yeah. Some people call it a 7-year change. I used to take it into like mathematical calculation as a 5-year change. What you were at 5 years old, you weren't as 10, and you weren't as 15, and you sure weren't as 20. But and then of course some of us are a little older, and then we've already gotten a couple more 5-year periods. But I think it's like a 3-year change now that I'm a little older. I think we all change and adapt to our circumstances and our our knowledge levels. And I think I'm even growing faster as the more knowledge you get, the more change you get, because you can't always think that what what was right yesterday is no longer right, and we just have to keep on evolving. As revolutionaries, also we have to evolve within our knowledge and our skill levels. And then what good is education if we don't share it? So I'm glad to be on this study group, and I'm glad to learn. I'm like, I get excited every time. I try not to miss them. But with utilizing one another's experiences, we all have so much knowledge to gain, and let us keep our minds open. And like you were saying about the, the blade, or the sharpness of the blade, we have to be careful also, because like life's almost like a double-edged sword, and the tongue is a double-edged sword, and it's used. It could be used for such beautiful things, but a lot of times it's used in malice, speaking and stuff like that. And we have to be cautious towards that. And that's all. That's all I wanted to say.
Right. Right, exactly. Um, um, Culture can be used both in a revolutionary manner or in a reactionary manner, you know? Just like how we can use culture to encourage revolutionary thought and behavior, the bourgeois have used culture to have used culture, co-opted it, and used it to encourage reactionary behavior, music, art, literature, religion, traditions. Everything they can think of has been used by the bourgeois to encourage reactionary sentiments, the co-opting of culture, causing its own death while making people believe something that's not true. And if we want to create a new society, if we want to create a new culture, we have to start using the gun, using culture, using the state in a revolutionary manner. We have to start using it in a manner that will bring liberation for us, and that will move us forward. So yeah, Comrade Will, did you raise your hand again, or was it up from before?
No, I raised my hand. I'm just gonna say I'm leaving because I have to handle some other things in my day. But I just wanted to just like say, like, just like validate what you said. Like, definitely it's important that we, honestly, it like every like sometimes we guys talk, you guys like you be name dropping books, like on like maybe purpose on accident. I just feel like it's just really important to get our theories right, and just to make sure, like you said, we not necessarily weaponize, but we utilize culture and all these other different like avenues and vehicles for liberation. Because like you said, like the oppressors use, for example, hip hop music was made for a revolutionary cause. But now if you look at it, the big corporations have their money in it, and it's like the hip hop and prison pipeline. If you look at like so many things that like started off great and beautiful, and how they've just been bastardized by like greedy capitalist esque like mentalities. So just definitely, yeah, just using like what is ours to liberate us.
And exactly, especially with hip hop once again, because African and Caribbean lumpen youth and children made hip hop first. It came from us, and then it got capitalized off of and commodified by these bourgeois corporations, especially the record companies, and turned into a weapon of violence and self-destruction with our people, especially, the kids of back then and today. You know, they want to blame the genre alone for why there's such, violence going on in our communities. But if they really truly understood the history of why hip hop even became hip hop, they would know that it was African and Caribbean, especially Boricua, lumpen proletariat, children and youth that made what would become hip hop. Now, it was already kind of rumbling for years, especially with rap, because rap came from us, from our ancestors, and then it transformed into, this new revolutionary form. And then it was co-opted and made into a weapon of violence amongst our own. So, those class distinctions are very, very clear here. That's what we need to understand, is that any form, any part of the culture that has been made by especially lumpen proletariat young people, and then made into a weapon of enacting violence amongst that people, is how our culture can be used for reactionary bourgeois means. So that's very, very important.
Peace, guys.
Peace, Comrade Will. Bye.
Peace out.
Peace out, comrade. Y'all are awesome. Y'all are amazing. I'm so glad I had this book club with y'all today. Comrade Shanti, do you know if we're going to have the Sancha Cord classes today, or are they done? Or are they done for now completely?
I think they may be done for now. I'm not sure. I'll check, but I think we're done with it this cycle.
Right on. That's good to know. On that note, does anyone else have anything to say at all about what we have discussed and what we have read?
I just wanted to thank Sister Siavi for joining in, Comrade Siavi for joining in today for her first time, and hopefully you come back again.
Yes, please. Comrade, I don't know how to pronounce your first name, sorry. Comrade Stevens. You can come back anytime you want. We always have these book clubs on Fridays, Sundays, and Mondays. Fridays at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Sundays at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and Mondays at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We also have another book club on Tuesdays, and we are currently reading Seize the Time by Bobby Seale, and that will be at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time Tuesday.
Okay. Right on. And just for future reference, I go by MCT Rose.
MCT Rose?
Mm-hmm.
Right on, comrade. Right on. Thank you for correcting me, and thank you, comrade. Sorry, what?
No problem.
Right on, and thank you, comrade Mo, for attending us here for the first time. Because I think you're the first time.
Thank you so much for coming.
Yes,
I
please.
Didn't expect you to come. I did not expect for you. Thank you so much for coming.
Seriously, man. Seriously, like I had no idea you were with the New Era Young Lords, let alone the Minister of Education. So, like, once again, your insight is amazing.
Yeah, we're very, very close. Mo and I are very, very close. So
100%. Thank y'all for having me. Hopefully we can have some more young lords in the room soon.
Of course, yes.
We will, comrade.
Yes.
We will. Don't worry.
Yes. Comrade Mo, could you send me your Facebook so that way I can follow you? If you have
I got you, comrade. Well, actually, Shante, would you be able to forward that? Just because I'm driving right now.
Oh, yeah, I can do that.
Thank you so much, comrade.
Right
no
on.
problem. Yeah,
right
I'll
on.
follow,
Thank you.
For you the Minister of Information, Minister of Education's Facebook, Instagram, you know, those avenues.
Right on. Right on. Does anyone have anything to say about what we have discussed? Anything?
I would say, one more thing, once again, this is, just like we've been saying, this is a cautionary tale of being lost in the moment and turning it into a cult movement. Turning it from a revolutionary moment to a cult, a revolutionary moment to a cult movement.
Mm-hmm.
What happened with the Young Lords Party, not the organization, the party, and them changing their name, because I didn't even know they changed their name to
some shit. I don't know what it was. It was something long, like RR or something. I don't know.
It was the Puerto Rican Revolutionary Workers Organization.
Right. Yeah, that's what it was.
Essentially, like trying to steer away from the lumpen and make it so hyper fixated on the workers, and it bombed. So once again, a cautionary tale: do not turn into a cult. Do not turn into a cult leader. Do not turn into no cult committee, because that was what the Central Committee turned into, a cult committee. Don't try to do any name changes, any kind of, self-loathing. Do not self-loathe yourself. Always be hyper aware. Always change your strategy. Always change your approach to your political and ideological lines with the times. Do not stay stagnant. Do not stay on autopilot. Do not do any of that stuff, because you do not want to end up like Gloria. And we want to be sure that we have a solid foundation of the core principles, and that we're not staying in the wrong place, but also turning it into a cult-like situation. So just keep that in mind, my comrades. Just keep that in mind, because I do not want to see any of y'all turn into Gloria. Okay, I don't.
Please don't.
I do not. I don't got time for that. You already know You already know me. You already know what's gonna happen when you turn into Gloria. So don't have that happen to you, please.
Don't have it. Please do not turn into cultural nationalists. Please, please don't.
Please don't.
Comrade Shay?
Yeah, I just want to say that if Gloria is still alive, her ears are ringing. We mentioned her name so much today that her ears are ringing.
Oh no, yeah. You know that saying? You know that saying that you can feel when someone's talking about you. you know that saying?
Yeah.
The amount of times that we have said Gloria's name, she is probably so uncomfortable right now. Like, is someone talking about me?
Yes, we're talking about you because you're a dictator and you torture people. You hit people. Come on. That's why your whole position failed. That's why it failed, and we have every right to talk about you because that's history. So sorry, can't change history. Sorry.
Right.
You can. Sorry.
You can't change history.
You can't
change history. You can whitewash it. You can try and misconstruct it, but you can never 100% get rid of what happened. You can never do it. There's always a semblance of what actually happened. If it can be destroyed, it'll always come back to bite you in the ass. If it can be destroyed by the truth, it should be destroyed by the truth.
Exactly.
Simple as that.
Exactly. And one of my favorite soul singers of all time from Philadelphia has said this one time: you can't hide from yourself anywhere you go, where you are. You can try to run, you can try to hide from yourself, but it'll always come back.
The horrors will always come back. They'll never escape you. They will never escape you. Like if Gloria Fontanez is still alive, like, she must hate herself. Like, somewhere she must hate herself for what she fucking did.
Yeah, and you know, I know Cha-Cha would have had fit, a fit, a fit because like we know better than that. We know way better than that up here in Chicago. Okay, we know that way more better up here in Chi-Town. Okay, the Chi-Town, the Windy City. Okay, we don't play with that type of child's play.
Yes.
That's child's
If
play.
you
Like Fred,
ignore, sorry, you're gonna say Shanti?
like Fred Hampton said, it's child's play. Like the Weather Underground, what they were doing was child's play. This is child's play.
This is just scandalous. Like the shit that happened here was just straight up scandalous. Like goddamn, right, being an FBI agent, like y'all changing your names to something else completely, you abandoning the
But
lumpen completely. It like truly had the YLP taken taken and were inspired by what the YLO were doing, the YLP would have done so much better had they actually self-criticized and criticized and actually analyzed what the Illinois young lords were doing and why it worked for them so much better than it worked for the YLP.
exactly, and why the YLO in Chicago lasted longer even after Cha-Cha got out of prison because he wanted to continue it. He wanted to bring it back, and it managed to last longer in different ways, but it still stayed in Chicago. It still stayed in Chicago. Don't worry, it's very much still stayed.
Right
It had
on.
a longer longevity than the other chapters at the time because it was the most principled, and it was, you know, it had that lumping base, so it was a lot of potential, that they used to their to however far they could go with it. It lasted longer even after Cha-Cha went to prison and got out of prison, the concentration camp. um he continued it in different ways, and here we are this year with so much. The women, the exhibit at the Honeycomb Network with the women of the Young Lords Chicago, because you know it's, you know, the mainstream narrative about the Young Lords is so New York centric, but you know, putting in the women of the Chicago, the original Young Lords organization in Chicago, was a big moment for us because once again, we're reclaiming our history, we're telling our story once and for all, and being acknowledged by DePaul for the 55th anniversary of the Young Lords about 2 weeks ago, and Cha-Cha being formally recognized. Like, we have come a long way to this point. We have come a long way to this point. And once again, had they just stayed and just listened to Cha-Cha, if they just listened to him, they would not have collapsed as violently.
They would.
And that's the truth.
That is the truth.
It's already raised his hand twice.
Yes, comrade Che, you were gonna say?
Yeah, before we leave, I just want to say I was listening to what's her name that wrote this book?
Johanna?
Johanna, yeah. I was watching one of her programs last night on my computer, and she was talking about Cha-Cha. You know, he was always in and out of jail, and at one point the judge was going to sentence him to 10 years in prison, but his mother talked with the judge, and they made an agreement to give Cha-Cha a chance, and so they let him go, provided that he goes to Puerto Rico. So he went to Puerto Rico, and apparently he didn't stay there that long because he came back, and when he came back, he went back to jail. You know, So that was some information that I never knew, man.
Oh yeah.
Never knew that that he went to Portland and then he came back. He went back to jail, and he would when he went back to Hampton, and as a matter of fact, she said that he didn't meet Fred Hampton. He heard of Fred Hampton, heard of him. And he read everything he could on the Black Panthers, and that's how he became a revolutionary, a full-fledged
Yep.
revolutionary.
That's awesome. And yeah, they did mention that earlier in this chapter. Not in this chapter, but earlier in the book. I don't know if you were here for that, Comrade Shay, but yeah, Johanna did mention that earlier in the book, how Shay had been going to prison a couple of times, and that he was sent to Puerto Rico to what's that word? Again, to rehabilitate. Yeah, to rehabilitate him. And according to what I remember from the book, from what Johanna wrote, that had a big impact on Chacha. Seeing the Puerto Ricans of Puerto Rico versus those on the mainland, and seeing how the different culture and different social relations were compared to those in Puerto Rico, and that had a big impact on Chacha moving forward.
And it came at the right time.
Yep, it came at the wrong time.
At the right time.
He was at the right place at the right place at the right time.
He was. And especially with DePaul, because back then Lincoln Park was largely Boricua and, poor Appalachian migrants and new Africans, including Lakeview and especially Uptown. So the material conditions back then, like I said, the police were harassing everyone equally. Like it didn't matter what color you were, it didn't matter where you came from, it didn't matter what part of town, what part of the city you were, they were targeting you. And they will come up with any reason to arrest you and put you in the jail. Like they were literally beating you up in broad daylight, like 24/7. This was happening. And so like the lumpen masses of different backgrounds, like they were being treated the exact same way. It wasn't just new Africans. It was the Appalachian migrants. It was the Boricuas. It was the Chicanos. They were being treated the exact same way by the Chicago police. And, eventually, that breakthrough started to happen where we just had enough. Like everyone was, as equally involved. It didn't matter. They were equally targeted, and they were equally in the same conditions. So, like, that awakening in Chicago, because it is the city of the lumpen, once again, the city of gangs, that breakthrough that Cha-Cha had came at the right time, because the Paul had a big hand in the gentrification of Lincoln Park, because that's where they're in. And they had the urban genocide program, pushing out the Boricuas of Lincoln Park and replacing it with the bourgeois world. They actively resisted against the gentrification happening, and of course, it didn't succeed, and it ended up happening. But that imprint that they had on the city, because this was in Daly Senior's day, the imprint that they had was unlike anything that they ever seen, because it was like a breakthrough that no one had ever seen before. And when the Rainbow Coalition was officially formed by Fred in that April that year in '69, after like almost a year after they took over the school of the music building on the Paul's campus, where they truly became the Young Lords organization. It was unlike anything they had seen before. Poor Appalachians, Boricuas, and New Africans together Oh, once again, they were scared. They were so scared. They were so scared. And they did anything and everything to suppress it because they wanted to keep the proletariat, the lumpens in this case, divided through so-called racial and gender lines. And the fact that it happened the way it did was a testament to that time once again. And that's why the young lords in Chicago had such bigger flexible longevity than the YLP, because the YLP split from the organization and they failed. But the young lords here, it still continued in different ways, but it still moved with the times. It was still here. The young lords here in Chicago were still here. So, once again, the fact of the matter is they should have known better, but once again, they were hot-headed in their class privilege. So, it didn't work out, but that's why we learn from what they did right and what they did wrong and apply it especially to the now, since we're all under attack. We're all at war now. We've been
all oppressed.
We're all oppressed, but clearly it's kicked up a million different notches this year, as we've seen. So, adapting those strategies and making it into what makes sense for us now is very, very crucial. And that is what, once again, the YLP failed to do. That's what they once again, they became dictatorial. And, it's important to have that Chicago aspect in the Young Lords history, because this is where it all began. And so leaving out that part of our history would be a disservice to us, because there's already enough people that don't really talk about Chicago in this way, about Fred Hampton, about Cha-Cha, about the Rainbow Coalition, about these people. To leave out the Chicago perspective, where it all began, is a disservice. And that is why we have the exhibit. That is why we're doing everything that we can to make our story known. Because once again, the Rainbow Coalition was co-opted by Jesse Jackson, who led the fight for Black conservatism in the 80s and in the 70s, turning African people to support the Republican Party. Now that switch around, co-opting revolution to a bourgeois assimilationist plight. But we want to make it very clear that the Rainbow Coalition started with us here. It started with us here. It started with the Vanguard Lumpens here. It started here. And that is what we have to also bring into the fray. Chicago. You cannot talk about the Young Lords without Chicago.
You can't. Comrade Mo, you have your hand raised, and with whatever Comrade Mo is going to say, we'll end this live, because it's been going on for like 3 hours, I think. so it's best to not have it too long. So Comrade Mo, you have the floor, and we'll end it with what you have to say.
I appreciate y'all. No, I was just exactly going to say what you just said, Comrade. I was about to say I have to jump off, but I just wanted to, before I said that, just thank y'all. I wanted to thank Comrade Shante for the points that he's made. So important for the points about Chicago. But just wanted to say gratitude for having me, y'all. Really looking forward to being back, talking about this more with some young lords and, hopefully showing up with some more folks. So just want to say gratitude and yeah.
As always, all power to the people.
All power to the people.
All power to the people.
All power to the people. All revolutionary love and power.
Adelante.
Pa'lante, siempre pa'lante.
Adelante. Hey.
Stay strong, comrades.
Stay strong. Bye, y'all.
See y'all.